Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where two bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. And there really is only two of us this week, isn't there? So hello, everybody.
Officially only two of us, which is fine. I mean, it's slightly disjointed. It feels a bit odd.
Yeah, we miss Luke, obviously.
It feels like
it's got Stefan.
I feel like I've got a limb missing. I don't know which one. Maybe my left leg. I think my right one's the favorite. So left is probably the one weakest foot.
Not the least the weakest of any of your limbs. He's just not here, basically.
He's not here. Yeah,
he's not here. But don't worry, he's not poorly. He's not cancelled. He's none of those things. He's just got some day job stuff to do this week.
Yeah, maybe we're just anticipating. No, he's definitely not poorly. He's definitely not cancelled. Apologies if he's your favorite and you've tuned into this episode. Just skip it, I guess. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just listen.
We'll make get a new favorite, I guess.
Yeah, you got to adapt. Like if your favorite Power Ranger was the Green Ranger, for example, and then the Green Ranger was written out the show, don't worry, you got the White Ranger.
He's come back.
Same guy.
When you're a kid, it feels like he was gone for a long time, but it was probably like a fortnight.
Yeah. And it also feels like the Green Ranger was around for a long time, and I bet it was only like a short run. I mean, he was around longer than most villains in Power Rangers, but I bet it was a run of like 4 or 5 episodes at the very most.
Yeah. He was definitely the best one though. So yeah, anyone who Green was your favorite, absolutely right.
Did you used to like invent Power Ranger colors, like either draw them or just make them up when you were playing with your friends? I'm the Purple Ranger today. He's brand new.
Definitely, like playing at school, people had come up with new Power Rangers, but like I feel like because it transitioned so quick. Because I guess in the UK we were getting them behind schedule, so like there wasn't ever a break when there wasn't one. It went straight from the dinosaurs to the Ninja Zords to whatever came after that, and it went through so many iterations quickly that actually even unimaginative children were spoiled because you had a new thing coming up every few minutes, a new theme.
Brand new. I mean, I was kind of out of the loop pretty quick sharp after the movie. I think that was where my interest
the movie was where ended. They got the ninja ones, right?
Of course. Frog. Who had the frog?
That was Adam, the Black Ranger, the second Black Ranger. I took my sister to it. It was one of the first films. That's why I remember it so well. I took my sister to see it, and it was one of the first times that I was considered old enough to take my younger sister without one of our parents coming to the cinema. So I was like, go on, take sister to see Power Rangers.
24.
So I did. So I took her along, and we did it. And then, despite the fact this was 2 children in a cinema, then 2 adults came and sat in front of us, so we moved. My sister dropped a massive drink after we sat down in our new seats. So there's a tidal wave of Fanta just heading down the cinema aisles.
It's the Fanta tidal wave.
And then for a long time afterwards, my sister would reenact that great scene with movie exclusive villain Ivan Ooze. Because as a young girl in the 1990s, my sister of course played the recorder at school. And she came and bashed one of my friends, Paul. Paul was round for a little visit, just hanging out after school one day. My sister came in with a recorder and went, right, now, Paul, it's time to pay the piper. And then just the little Ivan Ooze thing, the flip goes, and then like just twatted him on the head with it.
Twatted him as well. I thought you were going to say she played the Red Hot Chili Peppers cover of Higher Ground, which is what the film opens to. That would have been good on recorder. So, well, if you've tuned into this podcast to hear us talk about horror films, news. Sorry that we're doing an extensive history of Power Rangers. Maybe it's a spin-off show for the podcast. We could, maybe a bonus episode.
Every week they would fight a monster, horror related.
And Ivan Ooze is pretty gross. All tentacly, leathery, and purple.
It was a bad man. Tried to get all those parents to kill themselves. In many ways, Bulk and Skull are the heroes of that thing.
Oh yeah.
And don't get me started.
I always knew it.
Knew about Bulk and Skull. Basically 2 alternative kids that somehow were the bullies of the situation
Yeah.
when they were picking on 5, possibly 6 really athletic, popular kids. No way. No way.
I mean, it is backwards land.
Those two kids are just picking on a couple of underachievers.
Oh shit! We better walk a different way, or the Goths are going to beat us up.
Yeah. No way. Poor Balkan Skull.
Okay. Poor Balkan Skull. Justice for Balkan Skull. Try and say skull and bulk. Doesn't sound right.
No, can't. It's like fork and knife. Chips and fish. It's a poor collocation.
Chips and fish. Wow. Okay. Horror news for this week. We've got there's a trailer for the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, which is dropping on Netflix on February the 18th. This was really strange because I think for a couple of days before this trailer and the new poster dropped, I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm worried about this film because we haven't seen anything else, and it's arriving next month or this month." Now we're in February. So yeah, and then we got a trailer. Have you seen the trailer?
I've seen a bit of the trailer, and then I got sidetracked and haven't seen the end of the trailer. Yeah.
I think there's a couple of promise. It looks quite promising. There's a couple of interesting shots. I'm a bit lost as to, what is canon in this world now. And it looks like it's leaning very heavily into the Halloween 2018 style.
What, like the first Survivor. One is and the rest isn't?
It looks like that, yeah. And also a survivor, Sally, she says, 50 years I've been waiting for this night. Are we supposed to believe that Leatherface has just been chilling for 50 years?
And who, like, I've just got the visuals on in the background now, so I can catch up on it as we go. There's a chainsaw there.
Yeah.
So
wait. There's a chainsaw there. Oh, and there's a Texas and a massacre.
Yeah, and there's a silver-haired lady. She must be the 50 years the survivor. So she's doing a Laurie Strode, is she?
It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it's leaning very heavily into Halloween, and it looks like in terms of where Halloween dialed up like the body count and dialed up the brutality. I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is always very brutal. But also, how old is Leatherface?
I was about to say, he wasn't. I don't think he was a young man in the original, was he?
I would say 30 at the very least. So now, 50 years later, he's an 80-year-old man knocking about. Fucking people up.
And I don't think he's got a particularly healthy lifestyle.
No, I can't imagine him sitting down and having a kale salad once a week.
Well, he's got quite a poor diet. He lives in fairly unsanitary conditions. Yeah, if he's alive, he's comorbidities up the wazoo. Yeah. He's gonna be very poorly.
And he wears dead flesh on his face, which is unsanitary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's very unsanitary. And if it's set in the modern day, the era of COVID, unfortunately, the nature of the masks that you're wearing, Leatherface, they neither properly cover your nose or mouth because there's still the holes.
By design, they don't cover the nose and the mouth. Are a lot of films now, this was something else I read, not necessarily horror film related. Do you think a lot of popular media is going to just like ignore the fact that COVID exists story-wise pretty much going forward now? It's not like we're going to get every film and there's going to be COVID regulations in those movies. Surely these films are just going to carry on like normal pre-COVID.
Yeah, I think they are. And I think eventually, I know things aren't totally normal yet, I think people will treat it a lot like, let's use a parallel to fiction here, it's going to be a lot like the whole Thanos thing in the Avengers movies. There'll just be a couple of years that didn't really happen.
Yeah. Some
Except,
graffiti.
Some people won't get older. And catch you up at school. That bit won't happen.
I bloody blipped. I've been in quarantine for 2 years. Blipped. Oh yeah. Okay. Strangely, I aged twice as fast in those 2 years.
Yeah, put on loads of weight, got loads of problems, got really anxious about everything.
Exactly. But I think what we decided to do was we're going to cover the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. We may do it in a bonus episode form because I think when we decided upon what the lineup was going to be for February, I think we kind of forgot that I definitely did, forgot it was coming out that month.
It had gone quiet, hadn't it? Like the guy, like people were worrying about it. It had gone quiet and we didn't know what the Like, I don't think it's been pushed especially hard. Maybe that is a reason to give us a little bit of a worry as well. But
I read somewhere that there were some screenings, I guess some test screenings that weren't very well received. So I don't know whether that means they've gone back and edited some more or what. Or they've added a song and dance number.
Yeah. There's the scene at the beginning where he finds the fountain of youth and becomes young again.
Yeah. There we go. So yeah, I think we're going to cover that. I guess as we mentioned the February lineup, we should probably discuss the February lineup on this podcast because we've got quite a lot happening.
A couple of cheeky double bills. Well, sort of.
Yeah, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to cover a couple of movies this month where we essentially cover the original, but we'll treat it like a double bill in a sense that we'll also watch the remake and talk about the remake a bit as well. So it's not like we're going to cover both films extensively like we do usually on the podcast.
Yeah, we've not quite recovered from Fear Street yet, have we? That was brutal.
Yeah, that was, we were awake for 72 hours doing that. Yeah, so I think we'll cover the original and then also talk about the remake. So next week we're going to do the Amityville Horror, the original, and then the Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
Which I've never seen that one. I've never seen the.
I'm not sure I've seen it either. I might have seen the original.
I've definitely seen the original, but a long time ago. Yeah, but not the remake. And
Simpsons parody, I know very well.
Everyone knows. If you want anything Simpsons parody, I mean, I only knew West Side Story via The Simpsons until very recently. So, and also, and the other way around, the week after that, we're going to do My Bloody Valentine as a post Valentine's Day special. I've only seen the remake of that one.
I think I've only seen the remake. I've definitely seen. I think I saw the remake at the cinema. Was it in 3D?
In 3D. It was in 3D. It was riding the wave. Experience. It was riding the wave of 3D. 3D was well in its popularity at that point. So that was 2009, I believe. So if Avatar came out in 2007, possibly.
Yeah, some people will tell you that Avatar was the peak of 3D cinema, but no, My Bloody Valentine.
It was My Bloody Valentine. I remember watching the Clash of the Titans remake in 3D, and obviously it was in post production 3D where they kind of just took 2 layers of the film and made it wasn't filmed in 3D. It wasn't quite right, and that put me off for life.
I think my most popular tweet ever was about the Clash of the Titans movie. Empire magazine asked The Rock a question from me. I said, what would happen if you, playing Hercules, were to fight Sam Worthington, is it? His Perseus. And The Rock said, Sam's a good friend of mine, but R.I.P. and then the P was beginning of Perseus. So The Rock answered my question. Most popular ever been on Twitter, mate.
Wow. I completely forgot The Rock was in that Hercules movie as well. So we're talking about 6 degrees of separation. You've already got a connection in one of the biggest movie stars in the world there, The Rock.
Yeah, tweeted me that time.
You two are like 2 peas in a peas in a pot, 2 rocks in a
2 rocks on a gravel pit.
2 rocks in a gravel. It's not as catchy as saying, but God damn it, I like it.
Yeah. So that's the first 3, and then what we rounding off the month with?
Yeah, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought there. And then we're rounding off the month with Orphan. We're gonna have a special guest joining us for that as well. But yeah, if you follow Hawk and Cleaver on social media, or if you join the Horror Hangout Patreon, you can see all the details of that, or follow the follow the Horror Hangout Instagram, Horror Hangout Podcast, where we're posting far more regularly now. You can get your podcast news immediately, hot off the press.
Yeah, so you make these decisions, and we're actually doing a little bit of we got a new and improved spreadsheet with all the films that we want to get round to watching. Obviously, we inject new releases as and when they come around, but we've scoured our memories of other things that we really wanted to make sure that we covered. If you want to make sure your favorites are represented, all those ways we just mentioned, get in touch, chuck the suggestions in, we'll get them on the list.
Yeah, or be sure to check back the history of the podcast as well, because I'm forgetting what films we've covered and what films we haven't. now we're 200 and something episodes deep. It's easy to forget.
And we've done so few sequels. So few
Yeah.
sequels. Like we've done 2 Nightmare on Elm Streets. A couple of, I think the franchise we've covered most is probably Alien, because you've done.
Yeah, I think we've
all but Prometheus. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh,
we've
and
not
the
done
AVP
we've not done
movies.
AVP movies either now. So yeah, with I mean, I guess with that in mind, we're going to be doing a bonus episode for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We're going to be doing a bonus episode featuring Jem Carmela from the My Turn podcast. You may remember her when she joined us last year for the episode about Doom. But we're going to kind of take a little, go off the beaten track a little bit. We're going to talk about a horror game. Well, a horror game? I mean, you would call it a horror game. I think the makers of this game recently... The makers of this game recently called it like an action game, and they said the new one's going to be a survival horror game. But we're going to discuss Alan Wake Remastered, because me and Jem both played it recently, and Andy's a fan of the original and has played the original, so we're going to
just start the remake. I'm getting through it. I might not finish it before we record, but I remember it well enough. It's fine.
Yeah. So we're going to discuss that, and hopefully that's going to be an offshoot of the podcast, something we discuss for bonus episodes, horror games, because we're all big gamers and we all love horror games as well, so it's definitely worth us chatting about that.
We're going to look at some games a little bit more. Now we've got the bonus stuff that's coming out as well. All the more reason to get stuck in. Plenty of hot, fresh content coming at you.
Hot and fresh, like a horror bakery.
But speaking of hot, fresh content, what hot, fresh content have you absorbed this week in horror watching and playing and reading then?
That's an absolutely phenomenal, hot and fresh segue. I love it. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Put a pin in that segue. Don't want to ruin that segue. Also, in terms of bonus content, we've also decided to do a new format of bonus content, pitch a remake / pitch a sequel. So we're going to decide on what theme it will be per episode. But me, Luke, and Andy, we've all got a bit of background in writing horror as well for various podcasts and other fiction. So what we're going to do is put that to the test by pitching a remake or a sequel for a popular horror franchise. Not always a horror franchise, maybe a standalone movie that we think that could do with a sequel. We're going to pitch it and probably maybe get people to vote for their favorite if we've got the capacity of doing that. So yeah, that could be fun. And I think possibly we may be doing a Nightmare on Elm Street first.
Yes.
We've been
got an idea for
some ideas around.
I know that Luke has an idea for a new Friday the 13th movie as well. I need to get one to stack up against him on that one. But yeah, a lot of fun. And if you've got things that you'd like to hear what we do with, fire it on over.
Yeah, and also fire your suggestions over when we start putting that bonus content out. We really do want people to interact with us and give us your ideas as well, because that's fun. And then we'll steal it and use it for profit. We would never do that.
No, we're not Hollywood.
We're not Hollywood yet. No, we're not. But going back to your segue there, Andy, because it was good, and I don't want to forget it.
We're back to it. So what hot, fresh content have you been putting in your eyes and mind?
Putting in my eyes and mind. Not much into my mind, unfortunately, because there's not much going on in there at all times. However, I've watched a couple of things this week. I watched a documentary called Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched, A History of Folk Horror. I think I mentioned this on our podcast recently as something I was going to watch that had been released. So it was on Shudder, and this is pretty intense. It is like 3 hours long, and it is a definitive and extensive history of the genre of folk horror, covering so much, and also covering films that perhaps you wouldn't necessarily associate with folk horror, but also covering so many films that I'd never heard of or kind of knew about but didn't really think of. My watch list is bloated after watching this documentary. It covers everything. It covers folk horror from like the origins of the genre to how it's been perceived and put out in various countries and various foreign cinema, through to modern sort of folk horror, and the origins of like where that term began and what it means to be a folk horror movie. And it's quite a broad there is quite a broad scope for it. So I find it really, really interesting. I needed to digest it in a couple of sessions, just a couple of viewings. Sorry.
It's quite an extensive documentary, right?
Yeah, it's quite an extensive documentary. 3 hours. Put it on once. Yeah, I know it's pretty intense. But yeah, if you're a fan of the genre, even if you've got a passing interest in the genre, definitely check it out, because I think it will make you. I mean, a lot of interesting folk,
as you
involved.
Said, lots of good
folk.
watch lists as well. Yeah. So I'll put you on the spot then, Ben. How would you, having now watched this documentary, of course, you've had a bit of time to prep, how would you define what makes a folk horror movie?
It's a great question. Now, there's a lot of cliched things that you think of when it comes to folk horror, like witchcraft, rituals. But I kind of think the one thing that defines folk horror the most seems to be, obviously there's like a connection to the land, like some form of connection to it. But there's a lot of like being an outsider and being suddenly thrust into this bizarre, strange world where you're perceived as an outsider, but also you just slowly start to uncover and unravel some level of mystery. Now, I wouldn't always say it needed to be a witch or a cult or something like that, or a curse, but just that thing of being an outsider. I think definitely being the countryside definitely sort of adds to it. There was one movie which they covered, which is a film I saw, which is probably the trippiest film I've ever seen, which is Ben Wheatley's A Field in England.
Okay.
And they cover that, and I think that for me is one of the most definitive sort of folk horror, is where you feel as a viewer, you feel like an outsider watching that. You feel like you're the outsider, you're the police officer from The Wicker Man being thrust into this strange world and uncovering all these dark mysteries. I think when you as the viewer feel like that outsider in the moment while watching the film, I think that's really what a folk horror film is. But there's loads of stuff. I mean, they even talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre being a folk horror because it takes place.
It's just different. It's just different folk.
It's just different folk. It's essentially like, think of The Village, where there's a community that are so embroiled in their sort of way of life that they've forgotten that the outside world exists, and that when an outsider comes into that setup, it fucks things up.
So would you
for everyone
consider
involved,
by that is Wrong Turn a folk horror? I'd argue by that, but I'd argue by that certainly the new one.
Certainly the new one, yeah. I think this is the thing. This is what I love about horror as a genre so much, is that even like a subgenre of horror, like folk horror,
can have
there's so much crossover
in it. A lot within it. You've just reminded me, Ben, I should add Children of the Corn to our watching list.
Yeah, Children of the Corn is covered in this movie. But it kind of like covers essentially there's a trilogy of films: Witchfinder General, Blood on Satan's Claw, and The Wicker Man as like the definitive folk horror movies, and that anything else that kind of even calls upon those films. But there's loads of interesting people talking about folk horror. Robert Eggers talking about folk horror, obviously director of
sounds really good.
Lighthouse, The Witch. I
I
really enjoyed it.
would define folk horror as always having one of the three following things: either some central theme beyond. It doesn't have to be a god or a devil in the Christian sense. It could be, a pagan religion. It could be anything, but there is some kind of mysterious, usually unseen higher power, which is defined as the driving force for the actions of the human antagonists. Secondly, if that doesn't exist, then the other two factors to identify folk horror is that at least one character will be wearing a cardigan. And third, music in the score of some kind of unusual instrument that you wouldn't find in your average music shop. So a lute or a glockenspiel or an ocarina or something along those.
Ocarina is the Legend of Zelda folk horror.
It is a little panpipes maybe.
Oh yeah.
Not just those fellows.
I like the thought of cardigan.
The town centre selling those CDs.
Winkle pickers as well. You say cardigan. Now, if cardigan is worn by one character, winkle pickers by the other. And interesting facial hair sometimes, you know?
Oh, yeah. A cardigan, it could go to a goodie or a baddie. I think it depends on what haircut they've got. If your cardigan wearer has sensible haircut, they might be the expert character, the professor, the one that's researching it. If your person wearing a cardigan has got mad hair, get out of there.
Get out of there immediately. Turn around and run.
Or if you're the policeman in The Wickerman, do have sex with a landlord's daughter because you're going to get killed for being a massive virgin at the end.
Yeah, that's true.
If only you'd done that.
Killed for being a massive virgin. Are you a massive virgin or just an average-sized virgin? I'm pretty sure I'm a massive virgin.
In The Wickerman.
Get in The Wickerman. Burn him up.
Burn him up. Ah, dear.
Burn him up. But yeah, so, I mean, maybe Witchfinder General needs to go on the list as well. I don't know if you I don't know if you physically got a list there or you're pretending to write.
No, I am writing it down and then I'll transfer it to the sheet afterwards.
Would you say the form of knitwear you've got on right now could be included in folk horror?
No, it's not a chunk. It's not really a chunky knit. It's this is my children's television presenter jumper.
Yeah, Andy Peters.
Yeah, come on. All right, it's me.
Can you read out? Can you read out a birthday card from?
Here's a picture from Jake from Rochester. Here's a picture of him with Thomas the Tank Engine. You open a little face and he's in there. Little big moon face kid.
Ooh. A 6-year-old kid has sent us a drawing of the Wicker Man. Someone's burning alive inside it as well. That's lovely. Very
from
creative.
The Isle of wherever the Isle of the Sun. What are the isles called? Summer's Isle.
Called? Summer's Isle. That's it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or is that is that in the Elder Scrolls, the Summer's Isle? I don't know. They've lost it.
I'm pretty sure it's Lord Summerisle is Christopher Lee. And it takes place on Summerisle. Yes.
Oh, nailed it. Got it in one.
Got it in one.
Documentary aside, what else have you been slapping
man. The only other thing I've seen is the new Guillermo del Toro movie, Nightmare Alley. I did enjoy it. I really liked it. It's a really, really well-made film. You know, you're watching a sort of piece of great cinema.
GDT's got that production down.
Yeah, the production's great. It lacked some of like the traditional GDT charm, I think, and the gothic charm and flair, possibly. But the cast, like everyone involved, are at the top of their game. So Bradley Cooper is the lead, and I think Leonardo DiCaprio was attached to be in this movie, and Bradley Cooper replaced him. He's great. Rooney Mara is amazing, and then Cate Blanchett is amazing. Willem Dafoe's amazing.
Belters. What a cast.
Willem Dafoe's in it, but not as much as I would have liked. Ron Perlman. The first act is by far the strongest. After that, it kind of loses its way a little bit. Maybe doesn't live up to the initial promise, but it's a very interesting story. It's not like supernatural or horror in any way, really, but it was fascinating. I really enjoyed it, and it was like 2.5 hours long, but it flew by. So I think you can always tell that it's a good.
I do really want to see it, but the good news is, I guess, in the world we live in right now, if I don't make it to the cinema to see it, stuff comes out on streaming so fast.
I believe it may already be available on demand somewhere. I don't know where, but I definitely saw it pop up on my Twitter feed recently, saying now available on demand.
That'd be great. Well, once it's available somewhere I can reach it in the world, then I shall go and see that, because bit busier at the minute. Hard to find cinema time. Oh well.
Of course. Definitely recommend it.
Anything else watched?
That's it. How about yourself?
In the horror world, I finished my run of all of the Child's Play movies. So I finished, I think,
impressive.
When we spoke a couple of weeks ago, I'd done most of them apart from the last one. So I finished the last one of Don Mancini's films, the Cult of Chucky. Again, with that series, I think I said at the time, like, having a singular creator keep their hands on it and keep their hands on the helm, because he directed some, he has writing credits on all of them. Having that single creator with that has really helped keep that franchise on track. And even though you're talking about what on the surface is, a crazy concept, possessed doll that gets people, it is a franchise that you come back to and you think, I do still see the connected tissue. They go a long way to make sure that it all still works and it doesn't break itself. You're not in that horrible how many alternative timelines exist for Mike Myers. You're not, he hasn't ended up in space yet. And actually, listen to it, it has got not quite so overtly into the craft of filmmaking as your Scream movies, but it does have some sideways looks at the industry and the tropes as a whole. And off the back of that, I made a start on the series. I've watched the first 2 episodes. You know what? It's real good. The series is excellent.
Yeah. Well, you fired a recommendation at me and Luke, and it is on the list for me to check out because I've heard nothing but positive things about it.
Yeah.
So
see the first 2 episodes, just really, really well done so far. I'm looking forward to having some time later in the week to dive in on a few more. Other than that, started Alan Wake, playing a bit of that, but no other major watches apart from that.
Yeah. Apart from,
of course,
that is the next part of the show, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
My way. That's the next part of the show. Apart from the film of the week, which is another slice. I think that's how I described last week's movie. Slice of animal-centric horror. So yeah, this week's film is a movie called Burning Bright, which is a 2010 horror. Jesus, let me start that again. It's a 2010 horror thriller film. You can see where I went wrong. Directed by Carlos Brooks and starring Briana Evigan, Garret Dillahunt, Loaf, and Charlie Tahan. Now, the film centers around a young woman and her autistic little brother who are trapped in a house with a ravenous tiger during a hurricane. I mean, it's happened to the best of us. We've all been there. We know how frustrating it can be. Now, one of the reasons we decided to do this, obviously, we did some monkey horror last week and we were talking about animal horror movies, but also we've heard this compared to the movie Crawl quite a lot, which is hurricane, but instead of being trapped in a house with a tiger, trapped in a house with an alligator. I never remember if it's an alligator or a crocodile.
Alligators, I think.
Yeah.
Alligators.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I saw that at the cinema. I think it was a secret.
Yeah, me too.
I think it was one of those ones where it's a secret cinema thing, and they show you a film at random.
Okay.
And then the secret cinema film inevitably starts, and then several people get up and walk out because it isn't the new Avengers film 6 months early. Oh, so pissed off! It wasn't Endgame. Oh, I was like,
yeah,
you think a film that is going to smash box office records? Do you think they're going to use that as a secret cinema screening? So
turns out it's or it's a film that like even the concept of it hasn't it's definitely not even been made, and they're like, well, it might be the new one of this. I think I told you this story before, that my local pub I used to go to when I was like a teenager, this guy used to come and sell in DVDs, and I always used to have like a bit of, I want to call it banter, but I was genuinely annoyed because he'd try and convince people that like he had the new, I don't know, I think this instance was, I've got the new Indiana Jones, and me, it was like, I used to read /film every single day, /film.com, right? I knew when films were being made and when they're coming out. I was like, it's not even been made yet. He's like, nah, you can get it. I'm like, you can get a film that hasn't even been made? Who are you? Are you a bloody penny crayon? Are you just gonna what's going on here? I don't know why I said that, but
that's good. No, I follow it. It's good.
You get it.
Yeah, Penny Crayon can manifest anything she wants to. If she was to draw Indiana Jones, that'd be done. Would all those come to life though, as little tiny Indiana Joneses?
I suppose they would. Yeah, you'd
have to draw a picture of a DVD and write on the cover Indiana Jones for actual film, 100% legit copy.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so that kind of thing used to happen. So, for example, those secret cinema things where people used to say, "Oh, it's going to be the new James Bond starring Idris Elba." I was like, don't think he's even been officially confirmed to be the next James Bond, let alone they made another film. Yeah, it's probably that.
Yeah, and I think it was another one I saw. It was the film that it was The Heart of the Sea, the Chris Hemsworth Moby Dick film. Yeah. And it came out about a fortnight or so before The Force Awakens came out, and people like that. I went there and it was absolutely freaking packed.
As if it would be that.
And people's like, oh, it's going to be so. Yeah, what they're going to do is they're going to show exclusively a fortnight before even the world premiere, even the premiere where the stars and everything are going to be. They're going to show that in a UK cinema chain 2 weeks before it comes out. That is going to be the film it is it? Could be. It's PG. It's PG.
I was going to show it's a 400 shit muncher. Sorry to tar you with that brush there. And
No, 399. I knew it wasn't that. I was like, I'm just going to go and see this film.
I remember I went to one of those, right? So one of the movies that I've had the biggest problem with over the last, well, I say 10 years, I bet it's older than that, is that Now You See Me. You know, the film.
Oh, You See Me. I'm pretty sure I saw that like a secret cinema as well.
So I remember seeing that film. I remember now I saw it. I remember seeing it and going, like, it was so pretentious. It done my head in. It was like, right, you think that was a trick? Actually, it was this. And then it shows you what really happened. And I go, oh, shove up your ass. I hated that film. And one time I went to the secret cinema and it was Now You See Me 2. And
that must have been why I saw it as the secret one.
I sat and watched. I was fuming.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Now You See Me. I probably enjoyed it more than you because freaking love some magic. Magic's great. But
Shazam.
I was a little bit disappointed that the second one was called Now You See Me 2 and not Now You Don't. Should write itself.
Oh yeah. What could they call the third one?
Now You See Me Again, or Now You See Me, nothing up my sleeves.
Please write that down. For the next episode of Pitch a Remake, we're going to be doing Now You See Me 3. I know it's not horror related, but maybe it is. Because
the black arts, magic. That's folk horror.
Jesse Eisenberg, is that his name? Jesse Eisenberg? Jesse Eisenberg playing himself, or at least what I think it's going to be himself. Jesse Eisenberg playing, what's the Facebook guy called?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Jesse Eisenberg playing Mark Zuckerberg in Now You See Me 3. That's all he does. He just does the Zuckerberg all the time.
Just does the Zuckerberg. Talking fast and saying he's cleverer than people.
Yeah, I wonder how he feels about Mark Zuckerberg. Like, genuinely, if you went, how do you feel about Mark Zuckerberg? I fucking hate him. I absolutely hate him.
People mistake me for him all the time now.
Yeah, they do. Devastated. Anyway, so back to this film, which is essentially like the life of Pi, but in a house rather than on a boat. I'm joking, because Life of Pi was pretty amazing. This
I'll
is
say
like...
that this isn't, but it's a different one, isn't it? And like, I think if you look at the title could be it feels like it could have come out of like an idea, like a random ideas machine. Like you programmed an AI to give you ideas for films, and it's like hurricane outside, tiger inside, added little peril. You've got an autistic brother to try and keep away from this tiger as well.
Yeah. Why is it called Burning Bright? Just because she has a girl on fire?
Because of the poem. It's about a tiger, isn't it? Is it William Blake? Tiger, Burning Bright.
Hey, I've got you. There's me, all uncultured, being like, "Why is it called Burning Bright? It's very dark outside."
If I'd known that, then I would have worn a polo neck rather than this colourful jumper, and I could have have a little beret on.
Done a poem. We could have had Andy Conduit Turner does William Blake exclusively on the
Poetry Hangout.
The Poetry Corner. I thought it's just because she made a torch out of some fire towards the end.
Yeah.
That's what it's called, Burning Bright. Yeah, got it. So yeah,
it's about that without having to say tiger in the house.
This is a claustrophobic sort of like horror thriller. It kind of skimps on the horror a little bit because it's not too. I mean, obviously there's the threat, there's the peril, the scary, evil tiger. Because it's not just a standard tiger, not a tiger who's just milling about, just escaped from a cage. It's an evil tiger, and the tiger's name
is Lucifer.
So,
do you reckon that's normative determinism? Like he wouldn't have been the evil tiger until they named him after Satan. So as well, if I'm being labelled literally the archetype of evil, then I might as well kill the most beautiful horse. And
this is the thing. He even gets a backstory to try and give him to try and really hammer home the idea that this tiger is evil. He's
a
not
bad.
just a little bit bad. He's evil. But he's evil,
properly
personified.
evil tiger.
Personified,
Tigonified.
Tigonified. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand that with the lack of horror, like there isn't much blood and guts and gore because there's not really an opportunity to genuinely hurt anybody. Because
there's only a couple of characters, aren't there?
There's only a couple of characters, and both of them are like main characters. So, if you saw one of them getting their guts ripped out immediately, the film would be over fairly quick. And it's only a short film, it's 86 minutes, which is tight.
I think conceptually there's some really strong stuff here. I think it suffers, we'll come to review in at the end, but it suffers a bit in execution. But I really like that they tried this. I think the claustrophobia is very well done because you can't, all the things that you scream at things, no, get outside, can't, there's a hurricane.
Yeah, I know.
They're the worst.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
What's the perception of this in the public eye?
So I forgot to read out the score. So it's got 5.9 on IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got 46% audience score, but there's no critic score because it's only got 3 reviews. I don't think we've ever had that on this podcast. I think there's always been a critic score.
Enough for a critical consensus.
But nobody seemed to see Burning Bright. It's because it's called Burning Bright and not Tiger and an Ass during Hurricane.
Yeah, Hurricane House plus Tiger.
Hurricane House plus Tiger. Yeah, what else could you have called it? Tiger House. Tiger Resident Tiger. I don't know. And 2.9 on Letterboxd. We've got some choice reviews here. There's a user called HH Review. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Who's that?
Yeah.
They say
Triple H's younger brother.
Are you going to get into wrestling, Double H? Nah, just going to do reviews on Letterboxd. Okay, fair enough. So he says, actually, I don't know. They say, just a full-length feature of my cat when I don't give him his 6th treat of the day. What, just like smashing through walls and shit? That's pretty terrifying.
Eating your entire mattress?
Oh, yeah. Do you know what I do like, though? And I like the thought of using a mattress as a defense mechanism because I always kind of think they're bloody massive and awkward. One of my favorite instances of that is in the movie Drive when Ryan Gosling like slings a mattress up against a door when someone comes through with I think it's a shotgun. I just think it's great. Like you'd never ever think you're about to open a door ready to kill someone. Fuck, there's a mattress coming up. It's just
yeah.
It should be used as a defense mechanism in most movies.
And it even works a little bit against the tiger.
It works very well.
And I think I'll go out there and say like this is one of the things that I use when I think about. Sometimes I'll think about tigers when you got like a nerve-wracking situation. You've got the big presentation. You got to speak in front of a crowd. You got to meet someone that is that's like like a hero of yours or is influential, or you're worried about anything to do with interacting with people. I think to myself, sometimes I sit there and think about this in meetings at work, like when people are got a lot of authority, a lot of gravitas about it. The tiger just came in here, we'd all be the same. Like we talked about like fighting an ape the other day. I would, even though they try and get your fingers off and rip your nuts off and stuff, I would fight an ape over a tiger. And I don't know what you could do against the tiger because they're massive and they get you.
What would you do?
Like everything,
you'd need a mattress.
Everything a tiger can do, there's all of their weapons are just invincible. Like I don't think I could fight a tiger.
I think a mattress is good, but if you haven't got a mattress, a duvet is always good. Because I always think that when I think about zombie apocalypses, I think
giraffe more than you do now.
If they just burst into the bedroom while I was asleep, just get the duvet up, and they'd be like clawing at it and biting at it, and then you get them in there.
Oh, you could do that trick with dogs where you like drop it and then you run away behind the door, and they'd be like, "He's gone."
They'd have no idea where you were. Exactly.
Idiots.
I wonder where you were going. With that tiger point. But then you said, I thought you were going to say, could be worse. It could be a tiger in here. So if you're in any bad situation, you could go, well, at least there's not a tiger in the room.
No, it's just that, like, if you're worried about meeting people or what people will think of you in a social situation, all comes down to it. If a tiger comes in,
Everyone would soil themselves.
everyone is as fucked. No one
Yeah.
knows what they're doing with a tiger unless you're literally in a meeting with like Raven the Hunter. Then
What about those tiger performance guys?
one of them got killed by a tiger.
Yeah, one of them. I was going to say one of them got. I can't think of names today. Do you ever have one of those days where you're just like
Siegfried and Roy.
Siegfried and Roy.
I don't think he really got killed by a tiger before anyone tweets in. I think he was attacked by a tiger and then he had a stroke or something years later. But tigers, I'll get you.
God, 2003 tiger incident. Yeah, someone was. Oh God, the tiger was called Manticore. That's terrifying.
It's almost like Lucifer.
Manticore! Manticore, no! Terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
and of course, this was made pre Tiger King as well. Like, the attitudes to people having tigers
yes, I didn't even think
changed.
There are moments in Tiger King, right? Obviously, it's Joe Exotic is an interesting, charismatic, and definitely evil man. Like, on some degree, he's evil because obviously there's been a lot of poorly treated animals and stuff. But there were moments in Tiger King where I was just like, you become sort of accustomed to tigers being around so much that you like playing God, and then suddenly you're like, oh, actually, I'm going to get in with this tiger. And there are a few times when they're attacking him. There's a moment where he's filming something and he's like hitting it with a stick, with his walking stick, and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, shit. They're terrifying.
Yeah. And those are not big
terrifying.
tigers. Like, tigers can be huge.
Yeah.
I certainly would, at very least, not want to be in the house with one when there was a hurricane on. Were there any more reviews to cover, Ben? I've sidetracked.
Oh, yeah, sorry. A couple more reviews. So Robert Saucedo says this film is Christine with a tiger. That's an interesting comparison to compare it to a killer car movie. Very interesting. And also one more review from Mr. Luke Condor himself.
Oh, really? Oh, yes, he sent it over, yeah.
Which he gave us prior to this recording. He said, it shouldn't be that easy to evade a tiger. I think the tiger is broken. I mean, yeah, I think the tiger is broken because I think they even make out that as it's an evil tiger.
Yeah, because it's an evil tiger. It's not taking the logical way because he's trying to get the girl. Maybe that's why Tom gets around the house so easily. He's like, no, I'm ignoring you. I'm trying to get her.
I'm trying to get her, exactly, yeah. So that is that. So how does this film start? Okay,
we begin with our Meatloaf
transaction.
Cameo. Yeah.
So Meatloaf, rest in peace, Meatloaf. He stars in this movie as a cameo role. I did watch a documentary about Meatloaf recently, and he said something like he'd been in, I don't know, 165 films or something like that. And maybe far more than that. All the audience clapped, and he said, no, only 38 of them were good. I wonder if he includes Burning Bright
as one of his good films, or his bad ones. Who knows?
Who knows? We'll never know. Maybe we'll never know.
So
essentially,
meeting Meatloaf is what the man, like the dad of the story, does to begin with. He's popped off to meet Meatloaf at like just the side of like the A419 or something. He's just like parked up at the side of the road.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you're doing like a transaction. It's like, we'll both drive and we'll meet in the middle.
That's fair.
Yeah, they've met, and he's gone, right, want to buy this tiger here because he is starting, and again, pre-Tiger King world, he is starting like a roadside zoo or like a safari park he wants to open, right?
Dodgy.
He wants a big scary tiger to he wants a big scary tiger to put in his zoo, but he's a right old chancer. He tries to do a bit of haggling and says, oh, well, I forget what his reason is that he doesn't want to pay so much.
I think he says that initially says,
it doesn't know any tricks.
Scary. That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't know any tricks. Oh, as murder for a trick. It murders things How's that for a trick? Oh
It's
yeah,
a
but
murder
can it
tiger.
catch a ball?
Can it
That's
catch
a
a ball?
murder
Can it
tiger.
jump? Can it jump through a hoop? And the Meatloaf goes, "Listen, mate, this tiger is actually evil." And he tells the story about circus osses and says, "Yeah, it was at the circus once, and it escaped while all the people were screaming, and it went and it did it like kill the horse in a mean way? Like he broke its neck so it was just paralyzed, then he could eat it alive."
He broke it. Yeah, I think he did something like that.
So
Ate it
the
alive.
tiger also has a base knowledge of medicine and physiology to know that it can do those things. So it's a very powerful tiger.
It's just built in, mate. It's just built into the tiger's instincts.
And he's like, well, and the guy's still a bit of a chance. He's like, well, come on, well, like tiger at a horse, so what? And he's like, no, it ignored like 6 other horses to get that one. You know why I did it? Because it was the most beautiful.
But based on whose opinion? I kept thinking, who's thinking the horse is beautiful? You, Meatloaf? Are you deciding?
Are you
ranking the horses?
Yeah.
Are you ranking the horses and which one you find more attractive?
Yeah.
Which one's most beautiful?
The sexiest horse is the one he.
Maybe that one was the biggest. Maybe that one was the biggest. Maybe that one was, I don't know. Yeah. But this guy who's haggling is haggling to the extreme. He's like, knock $5,000 off, will you? If it doesn't do any tricks, knock $5,000 off. How much is he paying for it?
Yeah, he pays like $6,000 for it. So what? Like you're gonna knock just 1,000 something from a petrol.
Can you imagine knowing someone like this? I mean, we all know people who are impulsive, but could you imagine someone going, "I've withdrawn all the money from the only bank account we've got. I've withdrawn it all.
To buy a tiger.
It's from my stepdaughter to go to college, but I've withdrawn it all to buy a tiger, right?
From a roadside zoo that I'm opening.
Why?
My
So
safari
I'm opening a safari park and I need scary animals. What? I mean, you know, people are impulsive. They're like, "Oh, I'm off to Vegas now. See you later." And you go, "All right, I'll see you later." That's random. Goodbye. This would be Ed doing if this was anyone you knew or it was a relation.
Yeah, just nipped out to buy a tiger. Well, don't we need to discuss this about Meatloaf's waiting for me. He's on the M6 already. He's going to be...
He's on the M6.
When...
You don't like waiting, don't keep him waiting.
We've established that, again, of all the things Meatloaf would do, he won't do that, which is accept a lower price for his tiger.
He would not accept it being under offered by like $5,000.
He is not going to be haggled with on this at all. He says, "No, the tiger's evil, but if you're not serious, mate, fuck yourself, I guess." And then the stepdad basically fucks it even more because he wasn't prepared. Like negotiation 101, like he's gone in for a thing and he's not been prepared to walk away if it hadn't gone his way. Yeah. So as soon as Meatloaf's like, "Nah, mate, sod you, I'm off," and he was like, "Oh no, well here's what you wanted, and in fact here's a little bit extra for your trouble. Have more money." He's bad at haggling.
Absolutely
He's haggling himself.
The worst at haggling. "Oh, can I have some money off?" What? Sorry, the price has gone up now. Oh right, sorry. Yeah. Oh, well, I'll just take double. Bye.
Yeah. Here's all the money. And either way, he's secured his tiger. Meatloaf gives him a bit of advice: is that make sure you move the trailer with the chain. Don't ever touch the cage. That's no good. Yeah. Tiger's evil. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, he's very, very evil.
And he's like, he said, I guess Meatloaf, of all the things he does say, he never establishes that he's not an inside tiger.
Yeah, he doesn't say, "Where are you keeping him?" "Oh, just in the house."
Not in the house.
That. Not in the house.
He never says you are gonna keep this in a cage and not in your house, right? Yeah, I'm gonna keep him in a cage, even if there's a hurricane.
Well, I might board up the windows and just just make sure no one else is in the house.
Yeah, just don't seal the tiger in a house with any relatives, even if they are insured at the wazoo.
So obviously we will be spoiling this movie, but what happens here is that this guy, this dad, the stepdad, what's his
Safari
name?
Dad.
Safari. I nearly said Safari Dad. Johnny.
Johnny.
He's obviously got a plan in place from the word go. The reason he's buying this tiger isn't for a safari park; it's for someone else.
But the thing is, right? I was going to ask you this: is the tiger purely for this murder, or because he has
bread,
other
one stone.
animals he has other animals as well. So is he actually building a safari park and it's just incidental that he wants to use them for this murder?
Maybe he's been trying to murder them with all the other animals up to this point, but it's just not paid off.
Ocelot's not big enough.
Ocelot's not big enough. What else? Tortoise. Right there.
I've got the bunnies, but they're not good enough. They're like, I don't understand. Last tropical storm, I left 50 bunnies in the house, and they just had a great time.
They just had a great time. They had the best time ever, if anything. I even left them covered in carrots, but they just nibbled them. Didn't even kill anyone. Gutted. Yeah.
So he's gone hard with this tiger. But yeah, that's Meatloaf gone. As we were.
Meatloaf drives off like a bat out of hell, and that's it. And then we're introduced to the main character Kelly and her autistic brother Tom. They're at it's a special hospital, isn't it? So Tom's got autism. I would say pretty extreme autism,
like very, very severely, isn't it? Because we know that these things are a spectrum, and I am not in any way qualified to say how much of a realistic representation this is, but he is shown to have extremely like.
How did you feel about this representation of autism? Did you feel like it was? I don't. This is the thing. I know it's a spectrum. I understand. I know people with autism. I've experienced people with autism, but I've never really seen anyone with this extreme autism unless it's possibly in a documentary, an autism documentary. I think I've seen a few things.
Yeah.
Was it a tasteful representation of someone with autism? Would you say that was fair or not?
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's so hard to say. Like I guess
we're not qualified to.
Yeah, I'm not qualified to say what it's. I've seen examples of people who have, very, very extreme and very life-limiting autism, and I know that there are other people who have day-to-day challenges, but are perfectly capable of living a normal life. When it comes to this extreme example that we see here, it does add an extra dimension to it adds quite another dimension of peril to the film, and it kind of excuses some of the things that you would be shouting at as tropes of the movie of why don't you just do this, because it's not that simple and you can't do that. So I think this is it could be an effective tool for showing the challenges of this film. And I do think it gives our main character Kelly quite a lot to wrestle with, because I think the film does a decent job of showing that she loves her brother, but actually there are things about having to take care of measures because their mom is dead, and their stepdad is off buying tigers, is that she absolutely loves her brother and she wants to spend a lot of time with him, but she's reached a stage in her life where it's become really limiting. She's meant to go off to college, and people who have to take care of relatives have aspirations and things they want to do, right? So it's really difficult, and he can be, I can't qualify how realistic this representation is, but taken at face value from what the film presents, he is difficult to be around, right?
I think one thing that it seemed to represent really well was the lack of support. I guess certain carers, especially in this country. I can't speak for the US because I'm not fully aware, but I know carers of people with autism or other sort of life, not shortening, but life. What word did you use to describe it?
Life limiting, life restricting.
Life limiting, disabilities or whatever can be. The carers can often get not as much support. So to see her sort of be in this sort of frustrating situation where she's stuck between a rock and a hard place when she wants to move on with her life, but obviously she's got a young brother who she's essentially the sole guardian of,
because you can't trust the stepdad to do it,
because the stepdad is useless. Yeah. So that representation felt real. I guess any frustrations we have with the character while we discuss this film, the character of Tom, are going to be from Kelly's point of view when she's literally trying to survive not getting mauled by a tiger and stop Tom getting mauled by a tiger. And the fact that his behavior, which he can't help, is limiting that chance of survival. So that's what a frustration
I would absolutely say in going through this film, you know, even if it was my brother and I loved him, I would have fucked it up and we'd have both been dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think for me, getting through this movie, in the best case scenario, I wouldn't have fed Tom to the tiger, but I would have not been able to save him from it.
No. Very quickly as well. I think it would have been like, sorry, Tom, I've not done enough. Tiger's got you. But then are we supposed to believe that the tiger in this scenario isn't really interested in Tom? He, in the same way that he skipped all the other horses and went for the most beautiful, is for some reason got a thing for Kelly, and he wants to break her back and eat her.
Yeah, because he's a bad tiger. So again, this is our get out of jail clause here. Because this is a special tiger with medical knowledge and a personality disorder, we know that sometimes he's not going to do the basic animal instinct things where they're going to hunt and kill the first thing he can catch, because guaranteed Tom would be easier to catch.
Yeah, but he wants a bit of Kelly. He's a bad tiger,
so, and wants to kill Kelly. But we get to this situation where we're visiting this home. Those that are on the video, you can see, looks like I'm chairing this meeting here with Kelly and Tom from my background.
Please turn all the way. Please turn all the way around.
Turn around here.
It does look like he's chairing this meeting.
Right, so Kelly.
It looks like he's just looking at Kelly. I'll just take a photo of that.
So Kelly and Tom have gone in, and this appears to be a facility where Tom will get the support and attention he needs while Kelly goes off to college. And she's kind of got everything in place to go to college. It's all been set up. It's all in place. She has a scholarship to college, so that's all paid for. We're made to understand she's deferred it more than once as well. Yeah, because it comes up that when what happens now comes up, that they say basically you can't defer this again. I'll have to give the grant and the scholarship to somebody else. And it isn't one of those things where we have any worries that it's going to be like a crooked home where he's going to be abused. In fact, that when Tom has a bit of a meltdown about no red, he doesn't like the red cup that's on the. So his triggers are red, not into red. Doesn't like to be touched, and very specific rules about when he's going to eat or what he's going to do. I think some combine his his disabilities with what the trauma of his mom having died as well, right? So he's clearly a very traumatized boy. He doesn't like the red of the cup, but the doctor or the carer that they're interviewing knows exactly what to do, and she's actually able to calm him down really quickly. So we're led to believe that actually this is going to be great and he'll be in good, safe hands. However, the check bounces. Yeah, the check bounces. The bloody check. You know why it bounces, Ben? Because the dad has spent it all on tigers. Oh, for fuck's sake. You'd just be like, oh my God. Get Meatloaf back here. I want a refund for this tiger. Now Meatloaf's gone. Never to be seen again. Evil tiger. Yeah. Meatloaf's great. He no longer has an evil tiger to have to look after. And he's got all that money. More than the list price as well. Oh, wow. On Craigslist. So yeah, obviously the payment to the hospital is rejected. Kelly calls the bank, and she's informed, talks to the bank as if it's like her mate. Hello, who's that? Oh, it's me at the bank. Oh, you again? Yeah, I've only looking after one account here, and it's yours. But the account's been John's withdrew all the money and closed the account. Shared account, I guess. How did he manage to do that without any two-step verifications? Was it the mom's money, and he was married to the mom? He's a wrong one anyway. He spent all the money on tigers, and I think at one point he says, "Well, your mom didn't leave a will, so." Your mum bloody loved tigers. No, she didn't. Your mum. She did. She had Frosties every morning. Yes, they're great. Her dying words to me were, "Oh, make sure that you spend money for my my son's care and my daughter's college. Spend it on tigers if you must. That's what I really wanted.
Spend it on tigers if you must. Spend it on anything he needs. Tigers? Tigers?
Yeah, please use my immense fortune to make sure that we can become America's equivalent of the Irwin family. Build us an entire zoo, please.
Please do it. And as this is pre-Tiger King, you could be Tiger. You could be as famous as Joe Exotic would be eventually. She knew him. She knew Joe Exotic, and she knew he was destined for stardom.
When Joe Exotic would rise to fame later on, people would say, "Oh, it's just like that fella."
It's just like Johnny Gavinu. What's his name? Johnny Gavinu.
Yeah. People would see Joe Exotic in the street and go, "All right, Johnny Gavinu," and be like, "If only."
He didn't have a safari park. He didn't have a safari park. What he had was essentially like a haunted house style attraction. Basically, you go into a house full of wild animals.
Yeah. And if they jump out, to be fair, if you go into a house full of wild animals and a tiger jumps out, I would be scared.
Yeah.
The scariest thing I'd ever done.
If it's a man dressed as a clown and you know he can't touch you, you'd jump, but you're not quite scared. If you know it's a tiger who could break your back and eat your entrails, you'd be terrified.
Yeah, you would. You just have to be. You just have to be at least only the second most beautiful person in there.
Yeah, you just make sure you go there with
go with your fittest mate.
Excuse me, do you want to come with me to here? Why? I've always thought you were the fittest. What? Nah, don't worry about it. Come on.
Oh, nothing like that. It's just a friend thing. It's not a date. I just want you to come to what was his name?
But then the tiger, Johnny Gavinu.
Come to Johnny Gavinu's House of Horrors with me.
But then the tiger goes. But then the tiger goes for you first, and you realize you've been underestimating your own looks this whole time. And your final thought in your head as you die is that you actually were attractive.
So it's a good thing. What you need to do is go and see Gok 1 before, where he stand in the line and then says, "Oh, you put yourself sick there, but actually, you're the third fittest. You're the best."
I think he's moved. I think he's doing cookery programs now. Gok 1. We'll have to get him out of retirement just to judge us all on attractiveness levels.
Hopefully, I still live the dream that eventually that Gok 1 will finish with his cooking program and then get a hard-boiled detective series where he can be called Glock 1.
Oh wow!
And he can go around telling the chief that he's
introduce you to the Glock. Gok with a Glock. There we go.
There you go.
So what happens is John brings the tiger home, and this is like a opening scene of Jurassic Park.
Let's say the Jurassic Park scene.
Where obviously instead of loading a velociraptor into some sort of pen, they're getting the tiger in there. And don't touch the cage, right? If I'm going to tell you anything, don't touch the cage.
They immediately disregard Meatloaf's advice.
So one guy gets his hand, I guess, scratched, bitten. Is it scratched?
He loses a finger, doesn't he? He gets his hand chewed anyway by the tiger.
Yeah. He goes, "Look, get yourself down to the clinic."
Yeah, you just go to the clinic down the road. Don't worry, they will not
deport you. He says, "Yeah, they will not deport you. I'm not worried about that. My fucking finger."
What are you talking about? I'm from Ohio. just because I'm not a white man, you racist.
Just because I'm not Johnny Gavinu is cancelled immediately. Get out of here.
Johnny Gavinu is no immigration. Don't worry. So yeah, we get a little bit of blood.
I bet he's not paying his staff a living wage. Johnny Gavinu. I bet it's
Johnny Gavinu. You wouldn't dream of it.
No.
Yeah.
So it's a really strange sort of thing because at the same time as this happening, there is an approaching hurricane. We hear things on the radios about a hurricane approaching. I think a few characters say, "Bloody hurricane on the way." And so they're boarding up.
Got to board up the house.
Boarding up the house. Sort of drilling. Big panels of wood all over the windows and doors. When Kelly arrives home with Tom, who sees a red truck and is fuming about it. When Kelly arrives home, it's really weird because obviously she's angry with Johnny Gavinu. You've spent all the money. Where's all my money gone? I want to go to college, all that stuff. He's just he is gaslighting her. He's basically saying, "Nah, Nah, what, your money, is it? Well, and
That was
he'd say to her,
that was our tiger money, and I can look after Tom. I don't know if you know this. I'm a wicked dad.
doesn't he also say, have you been taking drugs? Because drugs reduce your ability, because you've forgotten.
Yeah, he said you've been taking
Gaslights the
drugs
shit out
because
of
that makes you forget things. So basically, Johnny Gavin is it's a gaslighting, money stealing piece of shit.
He's a gaslighting, money stealing, autistic, what is it? Stepson murdering.
Yeah.
Attempted murder.
Like not living wage paying roadside zoo owner. Johnny Gavin is not coming off too well in this one.
No.
But he goes, no,
Now,
look,
we
you
did
go to
make
college. I'll look after Tom. I'll look after him brilliantly. Look, I'll show him this tiger. And he says to Tom, like, don't touch that. It's a very dangerous tiger. But isn't the tiger cool? And Tom's just like looking at him.
Don't confuse me by telling me the tiger's cool and then telling me the tiger's dangerous, because I don't know where I stand. We did make a observation based on the actor who plays Johnny Gavin, and is played by Garret Dillahunt. And when we were trying to work out where we recognize him from, the most recent, well, one of the most recent movies he's been in is Army of the Dead, a film we covered on this podcast, where he played a character called Martin, who's like a sort of bodyguard guy.
He's like the company man, right? And again, he has a relationship with a tiger. I wonder if it's the same tiger.
He has a run, not just a relationship with a tiger. Obviously we are going to be spoiling the movie, but at this stage, he's a bad guy in a movie about an evil tiger. You do the maths.
You do the maths. So I think you've established, Ben, that I think this, and I think you must be right. If anyone knows anyone that's been eaten by a tiger in more films, tweet in.
Yeah. So we're establishing that
two tigers in a career, a single career,
killed by two tigers in one
that we know about. There could be more.
I want to know: has anyone been killed by more than two tigers in movies,
separate movies, cinema,
or has anyone been killed by the same animal twice in separate movies? Because that would be pretty insane as well. If we can find a third instance where he's been murdered by a tiger, that'll be it. That'll be the home run.
Yeah, he'll be untouchable, and no one's going to top that.
That's pretty fantastic. I wonder if it's like he's been typecast now, where he auditions for things and they say, "Oh yeah, you're in Army of the Dead and Burning Bright." Oh, we've not got a tiger in this movie. We're gonna get one in this movie. Just add a tiger in.
I feel like
this is a period drama.
Getting through his filmography and then just put, like, you know, in like 80s movies where you get the wrap up, the text, like Tom Hanks's character went on to win the Super Bowl. I might just put like little screen freezes just saying, you know, Joe Bloggs lived on for many years until he was eaten by a tiger unexpectedly.
Until he was eaten by a tiger at a roadside zoo run by a man called Johnny Gavin in a weird kind of crossover. Interesting.
So yeah, he's brought a tiger. He gaslights them into it. Kelly phones the uni and says, "Look, it's been a bit of a problem." And he says, "Look, I give you like a day. Like, you know, you got like a day or so to get here."
A day. Gee, loan sharks give you longer than that.
But then I'm gonna
I'll give you to the end of the week to get this money back, or I'm gonna break your legs.
I'm gonna put your place on clearing, and the money's gonna go to someone else. I feel like if she explained the situation, say, "Look, I was going to put my brother in a care home, but my dad has spent all the money on a tiger. Like, what do you want me to do?"
It's insane enough for him to go, you know what? Get yourself to the uni. We'll sort something out.
We'll just bring Tom at this point.
Bring Tom, yeah. So obviously she's fuming, and then we get a bit of an understanding about how the mother died. She took an overdose, killed herself. Wanted the money to go to Tom and Kelly, I believe. Tom, I guess he's severely autistic, but I guess he's in a state of being almost mute to the most part since the death, because he watches a home video of him and his mum like pretty much every day. I think Kelly even makes a joke and says, "Do you want to watch something else other than this that we've watched 784 times?" He's like, "Nah, stick it on."
Little kid though, isn't he? I was gonna say, like, again, he's in a pre Peppa Pig world as well, isn't he? Maybe afterwards kids are obsessed with that, watching it obsessively. But then I realized as well, pretty sure Peppa Pig wears like red welly boots, so he wouldn't like it.
Yeah, maybe he's a bit old for Peppa Pig. Oh,
I don't know. Either way, he's not.
Either
way,
he's not. I love Peppa Pig and stuff.
He's not watching. He's not watching that. He's watching some home videos again of their family before the mom.
I feel really weird about watching home video. Like my mum watches home videos quite a lot, like of holidays that we took when we were quite young. I don't know. I find it all a bit. I mean, like maybe I'd watch it like once, and then I'd be like, wow.
When you get back from maybe like in the days of having like camcorders and stuff, you might look at it back once after the event when you got home. Like if there were family members, like, show your gran the video of the holiday, because your elderly relatives don't do foreign travel. So well, look at this. This is the
like
kids
it wasn't even a
pool.
very good holiday. I don't want to. I lived it. I don't want to watch it 9 times afterwards.
So your mum loves getting the old home videos.
Yeah, always. She's always tells me, "Oh, I watched the video of us in Disneyland Paris recently, or in Blackpool." Obviously, 2 very interesting. I think I was like a teenager as well. She's like, "Oh, you're so miserable in these videos." I'm like, "What do you want from me?" Like I was.
I can't change it, Mum.
I can't change it. God, there's like do a different cut of that. Yeah. So anyway, but Tom is well into it.
Put a musical number in.
Do a little dance.
You could put in there now, but yeah, I feel like in the narrative of film, people only watch home videos when someone involved in that home video has tragically died.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely been viral videos recently where people are like, nobody ever films me, so I've made some clips of myself to be played at my funeral, and it's like running through a meadow or something, and just like having a playful like fight with bubbles while in the bathtub.
Yeah, definitely. Like the video clips you want is like you opening a Christmas present, having a holiday at the beach.
Yeah, doing something, having a bit of a laugh and a joke, having someone in a noogie.
Yeah, having some candy floss and getting a bit on your face.
The only video footage that exists of me these days is just from this podcast. So hopefully someone can go through and make a super cut of all of my best, nicest moments, most caring moments, so people can look back and say he was a good egg. On the contrary, if you want to find all the clips where I've been the biggest bastard, if your narrative is you want to say he died but he was a wanker.
If you look at the demonic episode where Ben is quoted as saying it was a nice idea, but no one in the film was actually any good. Pull that one. But yeah, same for me, Ben. I think
you could cut clips together and make either of us say anything.
Yeah,
anything you want.
There's so many hours now that we've probably said an awful lot.
There's so many hours. When they say get an infinite amount of chimpanzees in a room with an infinite amount of typewriters, they'll write the entire works of Shakespeare. If you take every episode of Horror Hangout, we've definitely said the works of Shakespeare in the wrong order, obviously.
Yeah, especially me. I'm always saying thous and these and forsooths. Now I've said them, but I haven't said them before. You've got them on record. I'll just throw in some more Shakespearean language, like a saucy knave.
Say saucy knave. Say the name of every character in every. Take too long. I think you know what I'm trying to get at. We could definitely have a full horror movie script,
from this that we could cut all together for sure.
That's a task for someone, not me.
The version in our families of Tom would have plenty of content to watch, so the Kelly would not get bored because there'd be hours of content for him to watch, unless he said a favorite episode.
Yeah, his favorite episode. I bet he loves the quiz episodes. Unless one of us has got a red t-shirt on, which I don't think.
I'd have to check. I've got red headphones on.
Have you got red headphones on? No.
Red's a hard color to avoid. Like, it must be really difficult.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is the first instance as well. So we've heard that the scholarship is in jeopardy. The storm is rolling in, and then Tom wants his wants feed, and it's setting up for when it will come at a far less convenient time later on. This is what he's having when he's watching the home video, right?
What does he eat? What does he have to eat? I can't remember.
Very, very specific. I think he has like a
Frosties.
no, he doesn't. He has I think it's a peanut butter sandwich, maybe, but it's cut very, very specifically into squares with toothpicks in a certain configuration as well.
So it's almost like, obviously he's got a lot of triggers and a lot of needs. But again, when I was talking about it being tasteful, it does feel like in a way it's being very, very mainstream in terms of very mainstream and extreme in terms of what autism is perceived to be.
Yeah, I know that one of the the general, I don't know, is it public perception of what severe autism looks like is it's the rigidity towards certain rules and rituals that people can have, and I'm sure it exists. You could probably argue that there are some people that have very specific things they have to eat. You think even outside of the, look at people who have, I don't know, arguably still very limiting factors to their lives. You look at things that aren't quite so serious as the conditions Tom is shown to have here, but you see those programs about people who only, there's that man who only ate spaghetti hoops for 25 years or
only
whatever it
chips,
was.
mate. Yeah.
And he would physically, again, in his personality and talking, this was a person who didn't have any other extended challenges, but this was a person who in the documentary was gagging if someone tried to make him eat anything that wasn't spaghetti hoops. So it had a physical reaction to not eating. So rituals around food, I think, are probably a fair representation.
Perhaps a tad, the only way I felt about this, a tad heavy-handed in the way the character is written, maybe, just because it kind of seems to take a lot of extremes that are perceived about autism and really sort of hammers them home in, I guess, the lack of the lack of speech, the food thing, the sort of visual triggers, the sort of meltdowns as well. I mean, sure, it's a representation of somebody who has autism, I'm sure, but I just think in terms of this character, possibly felt a tad heavy-handed, but a tad
heavy-handed. I would give this film the credit for trying maybe a little harder than some of the Hollywood shorthand, which is basically, let's use Predators as an example, right? So someone who doesn't talk very much but effectively has a superpower when it's in, I think that is the other representation which feels really lazy. And I would love to hear from anyone who listens that has any actual experience, living with or challenges of their own, to let us know and let us know how well this film represents that life, and whether it is tastefully done or whether it's gross.
I guess what we're doing by trying to talk about it is we're just trying to say it would be good to know whether this was tasteful or not, because obviously I guess we're just I'm doing it personally, putting my ignorance up for discussion in terms of whether this is a heavy-handed one. I mean, that was my personal opinion. Was it a bit heavy-handed? But obviously,
they're heavy-handed. But I think they tried something different, at least.
Of course, it's towing the line, isn't it? Because you don't want to try something different and then that your representation of that does more harm than good.
Yeah,
it sort of
And I will give this film credit for actually putting the challenges on it, because it's the first thing that we see next, actually. So we'll go into the deal of what happens. So the storm's rolling in, they have the dinner, they watch the home movies, and they go to bed. And then the next scene we see is Kelly walking, she's walking through the house at night, and she goes into Tom's room and suffocates him with a pillow. She violently attacks him and is smothering him with a pillow there before she wakes up, and it is just a nightmare. And actually, again, it feels like this. I think we talked about similarly deep things when we did something equally stupid like the Leprechaun movie. Again, but give the film this credit for it. It isn't hiding behind Kelly's portrayal and just saying this character is whiter than white. She loves her brother unconditionally, and they, there isn't ever that doubt or that challenge there. It is attempting, at very least, heavy-handed or otherwise, but what must be the challenge for some people who, especially a young person that's been thrown into a carer's role, the frustration that must build 100%. Up with having someone who is so entirely reliant on you, and the impact it has on your own life.
It's a difficult conversation to be had as well.
That resentment that kind of is built up in her, that things are so,
to me,
difficult without him.
That felt like a much better representation, and it gave her character a lot of depth. In terms of, obviously, it's a difficult conversation to have, that when you're a sole carer, or well, pretty much a sole carer for somebody who's got that sort of disability, and you've never experienced anything like that before, but now suddenly this person's relying on you and only you. Those dark faults, those moments of weakness, I mean, it happens a lot with sort of parents, and that's obviously where like postnatal depression is a very, very commonplace thing, is that those faults of, this is a person I love, this is a person who's relying on me, I should be able to care for them and give them love unconditionally. The fact that those faults are seeping in, that those dark faults are, I don't even know if this is what I want, I'm not happy, would this be better off if I was out of the situation? Or obviously the extreme here is, would it be better off if this person wasn't even alive anymore? So it's not afraid, even though it's just a little flash, a little dream sequence, or a flash, I guess it's a dream sequence, she's asleep, isn't she?
Yeah, she's asleep, yeah.
It's having a difficult, even in those few seconds, it gives her character a lot of depth, and I guess that kind of adds to, we understand
the weight of what she does next. And it's never really presented that she would actually hurt her brother, but we're about to, spoilers, put her in a situation where she wouldn't have to actively do anything to harm him, for him no longer to be in her life, because a tiger is about to be in your house.
So basically what happens is, with this tiger suddenly being let loose into this house, which is what happens, we'll explain how, it becomes the most difficult escort mission in all of history. If you thought escorting Ashley in Resident Evil 4, when you're Leon, through scores of ganados all trying to kidnap her and kill you, if you thought that was difficult, I don't know about medium difficult, if you try it on hard difficulty, this is like hard difficulty, because you're in a tiny house.
Beyond even that, this is like that situation Ben just described, except Ashley is constantly kicking you in the dick the whole time. Like, you cannot do anything. It's really hard what she goes through here. But and this is the point where it begins, because we see that someone off camera has basically shoved the tiger's cage right against the door and has let it into the house.
Go on then, get yourself in there, Lucifer. Are you hungry? I bet you are.
He's not been fed for a fortnight, so he's starved.
He's not been fed for a fortnight? That's true.
Yeah, Meatloaf says, I've not fed him for a couple of weeks because you need to show him who's boss.
What the?
That feels like a way to just enrage a tiger.
Oh, so tiger comes out. Oh, all right. Oh, you're the boss, are you? Or I'm gonna roll over onto my back. You can tickle my belly. I'm glad I know you're the boss now. No, I'm literally gonna
a tiger can perceive you as food. It's going to be looking at you, and your head's going to be like a hamburger, and you open your mouth and like a slice of pizza will come out instead of a tongue.
Tigers love pizza. What's that? Right, that's definitely in like a Simpsons episode or something.
I think it's when Bart imagines the Santa's little helper as like a sandwich and his tongue is a pizza.
Pizza tongue. So yeah, but then obviously the realization from Kelly that the tiger's in the house is really kind of like sudden, and she's like just coming downstairs for something. And
she's like on a blooming hell, like there's noise. Is this burglars breaking in when there's a hurricane, or is something gone? And she looks around and she's like, no, but oh fucking hell, a tiger. Just literally sees a tiger like walking through the kitchen.
So obviously the scenario is there's a hurricane outside. The house the windows and doors are all boarded up with wood, and now there's a tiger in the house as well. So there's no way out of the house. Calling the police doesn't work, or calling the emergency services.
Yeah, she phones the emergency services, but they're on callbacks because they put a message out said, in case you won't notice, there's a fucking hurricane, so leave your number.
Sorry, there's a hurricane outside, and we're all at home, tucked up tight.
Yeah, if you're phoning about the wind, we know.
The wind is not. It's not a ghost. It's not a spectre or a spook.
It's just a wind.
It is.
You've been warned this is coming. If there's a tiger in your house, leave your number. We'll phone you back.
If there's a tiger in your house, phone Joe Exotic. He'll be right round, and he'll take it and put it in some terrible living conditions just for you.
But yeah, so the operator states the obvious. There's a hurricane on. So
I think
leave
she
your
finds
number. We'll phone back.
She finds a note from Johnny Garrineau as well that says he's just gone to the. Has it gone to the store or something like that?
It's gone to the pub. Yeah, Johnny.
I mean, in real life, he's gone to the pub. Yeah, but I swear the note said I've gone to the local Spar to get some hurricane supplies. Kiss, kiss. Be back soon.
He's gone to get some Frosties. Winky face. What does that mean?
They're great.
Have a great time. Oh, that's nice of him.
This doesn't seem like the biggest house, but there are a lot of occasions where she's in rooms on her own. You know, she runs around looking, the doors and windows are all boarded up. She can't get out, obviously realizes that. She goes to find Tom just to say, don't mean to alarm you, lad, but there's a tiger in the house. But he's gone. He's not even in his bed.
Like Tom's number one ability, fucking off. Really cool, like just disappearing. And being in the last place you would expect to find him. But at this time, I guess she's phoned so Tom is missing somewhere else in the house. She's tried to phone the emergency services, but maybe the tiger's got like a sensitivity to mobile phone signal.
Oh my God,
like
yeah.
Electronics. So the tiger comes along. She shuts herself in the laundry room and the tiger's beating the door down.
Yeah. Obviously, I thought the laundry room might have been a save room, but turns out no.
No, Tiger can get in there. He's not like Mr. X. He can get in there.
So I think she's looking for her phone, isn't she? Because I think she decides that
the tiger's coming in. The phone sadly doesn't last too long. The tiger's coming in. This is when we get a great Mission Impossible moment. So the tiger's coming in. She's able to again the wonders of American houses. There's a laundry chute up to from the bedroom. So she climbs up the laundry chute just as the tiger comes in. And the looking down on the floor, annoyingly, in climbing up, she's left a flip phone.
I think the emergency services are calling her back.
They're calling her back. So the callback is really good. It's only been a couple of minutes. The emergency services are calling her back. However, the tiger doesn't take too kindly to that. He scoffs the phone.
Yeah, the tiger just smooshes the phone, bastard. It's because it's a flip phone, and he's just like, I hate it. Get out of it.
He's like, get a smartphone, love. Whatever year this film is, come on.
It's because the ringtone annoyed him. It was a polyphonic version of the Great Escape theme tune, and he was like, "Fucking hate that film."
Yeah, it's on every Christmas.
It's on every bloody Christmas. Steve McQueen's overrated.
What film what song would actually enrage a tiger the most? I guess the Cocoa Pops jingle. That's a rival cereal.
Like, rather have a bowl of Cocoa Pops. Do you remember when they very momentarily changed it to Choco Crispies?
Choco Crispies, yeah.
That was a dark time in our childhood.
The probably turning point of society. I think if they'd always kept it as Cocoa Pops, everything would be fine now.
Yeah, I think when everybody looks back in time with like these rose tinted glasses of nostalgia, what a great time to be alive. I'm like, yeah, but do you remember when they changed Cocoa Pops to Choco Crispies? Disgrace.
Although, maybe we should think about this another way. We should hold that out as a beacon of hope. I know more serious things have happened, but Choco Crispies returning to Cocoa Pops should show us that on an occasion when a decision is made and someone's absolutely fucked something, there is sometimes a way back.
There is.
Choco Krispies is actually my great hope. I'm choosing to take that forward.
There we go. We need to make a PowerPoint presentation about Choco Krispies, Cocoa Pops to try and convince anybody and everybody that, you know, sometimes going back is fine.
Just put things back to how they were.
Yeah.
And
always move forward unless there's an immediate backlash. Then
in
go
that
backwards.
case, it's okay to, and then we'll call it like the Choco Krispies Accords, and say, right, the Choco Krispies Accords have come into effect. We are putting this back to how it was.
I feel like I get into the Choco Krispies discourse far more often than I should. I explained it to someone recently who didn't remember it, and I was like, hang on a minute. It changed my life. It changed my life briefly, however long it lasted for.
And we didn't always get it. PJ and Duncan are still called Ant and Dec. Opal Fruits are still called Starburst. But Choco Krispies are Cocoa Pops again. Sometimes
you can let things slide. Other times, I mean, they're fucking with the very fabric of society by changing that cereal's name.
What is the cereal formerly known as Sugar Puffs called now? I don't need that one to change back. I understand why they've changed it.
God, is that even a thing anymore? I haven't seen Sugar Puffs on a shelf in a long time. Honey Monster Puffs. So they've obviously, Honey Monster Sugar Puffs. They've made the sugar not so obvious, not so prominent, just in case people go, can I have a lovely bit of sugar? My teeth are going to rot out my head.
There we go. But anyway, because of the Cocoa Pops jingle, the tiger's furious, destroys the phone, and then this is we get with our Mission Impossible moment. So Kelly is hanging there. Imagine the tension. She's hanging in the laundry chute. Laundry chutes, famously, warm places, probably quite near the boiler, but the airing cupboard's nearby. So she's there. She's having to pin herself up in a little chute. So a bit like in Mission Impossible when Tom Cruise is hanging inches from the sensitive floor, a little bead of sweat comes down there and it drips down, hits the laundry room floor. Tiger comes, has a little sniff of it, and he's like,
right.
He looks at it and you see the thing. And again, you should, for those people who sometimes we say, hey, pause and watch them. You don't need to watch this one, it's fine. But the tiger looks up at the thing, and it's a strange scenario. They must have had a tiger on set for some points of the film, but I do like, to get some stock footage of the tiger. But I do feel like the tiger was never on the same set as the actors.
No, I think you could kind of tell. There are 3 tigers, uncredited here, not even in the credits.
They don't have names like Link.
Katie. They do have names. Katie, Shika, and Kismet are the tigers. So obviously they had 3 tigers. I was about to say they had 3 tigers that looked alike, but you could line 100 tigers up, and I'd probably go, they're all pretty much tigers. So yeah, you could kind of tell that there was some trickery going on where the tiger was reacting to something that obviously wasn't on screen at the same. It wasn't on screen at the same time as the actors, obviously.
Yeah,
and it also felt like it had been superimposed for the most part into those scenes.
Yeah, and this is a case where again we see a slightly different film grade as well of a tiger looking up a pipe versus when we see Kelly up in the pipe. But then as soon as it's seen her up there, unfortunately, unlike Mission Impossible, she couldn't get a hand out to catch that bead of sweat. So the tiger's seen it and then he's like, he's trying to, and the tiger
does a weird thing where it kind of walks away for a second, doesn't it? It walks away and then she's like, whew, and it goes, I gotcha.
Yeah, the tiger's gone to is basically said, oh well, I'll never get up there.
There are 3 pieces of trivia on IMDb for this film, one of which is Briana Evigan, Kelly, had an ear infection while filming the laundry chute scene. and then underneath it says 2 of 11 people found this interesting. What?
Take that up to 3.
It's like it's like the 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste scenario. What's that? She had an ear infection. I don't give a fuck. Why is that on the trivia? That's like going, She had a bad belly when she was doing.
Had ear infection. Good job she wasn't scuba diving or anything. That'd have been no good.
She had some water trapped in her ear. She'd done 50 lengths in a swimming pool the day before. Who's that's insane.
Who knew that?
Who did know that? I mean, only her, surely. Or
maybe she posted it.
Yeah, but guess what? I had an ear infection when I did that scene.
I still got up that laundry chute with a tiger.
You can't tell, though, can you? You can't tell, though. You can. You're a great actress, Briana Evigan. You're great.
Yeah. What about all those scenes where she's going, "Oh, fucking hell, my ear."
Yeah. Did the tiger get her ear? No.
No. So she climbs up the laundry chute. The tiger's furious, and as fortune would have it, the room she crawls up into, Tom's in there. It's the mom's old room, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
And Tom is in there, like, taking some comfort in his mom's old belongings. But the tiger's not far behind, and the tiger's straight into the room pretty well. And so she grabs Tom, and again, he doesn't like to be touched, so he is screaming. Yeah. But there's nothing much she can do because otherwise there's a tiger.
Yeah.
And they hide under the bed. I'm not sure that they'd have got away with this because I feel when it comes to hide and seek, a tiger knows if you're under the bed.
Yeah, it walks straight in and it knows you're there immediately. It's not like looking around. Yeah. So obviously when they're under there, isn't like Tom reaching for something when the tiger's walking around as well? I swear he's reaching for something that maybe he had in his hand.
It's the mom's dress or something like that that he's like cradling earlier?
Possibly, yeah. But this is the one thing I do kind of respect about this is that in this survival mode, Kelly isn't like Molly coddling Tom at all. She's not like going, "Oh, don't worry, mate, it's all going to be all right." She's literally just like
shoving him around.
Shut the fuck up. Get in here, move over this way, get off. Oh, you idiot. Get through that door. Like,
yeah.
Just
and again, you have to realistic because a tiger doesn't fuck about. Like it's only for the dramatic sense of the film that the tiger doesn't immediately find you under the bed and does a dramatic like climb over the bed on the mattress and then disappear and then is at the other side of the bed like ah.
Yeah. So obviously here's where Kelly uses the mattress as a sort of barrier. And the tiger's like proper going for. I think the tiger maybe gets her at this point. Maybe slices. Maybe
he gets a leg a bit later as she's coming through the door. Right. But for now, the tiger's just going ham on that mattress, and the mattress affords them a bit of protection. They kind of wedge it, so they're able to get through the door, right?
Yeah,
and it's kind of
makes sense. As I said, I think a mattress is it's so big and awkward that. I think it's good in a lot of scenarios. I feel like we try and protect yourself. Get a mattress between you and anything, and you're golden. Maybe not a car. I don't think it'll work. But yeah. So they manage to get out of there, and then what room are they in next?
They go downstairs. They go downstairs to the kitchen for a little bit, and before the tiger came into the bedroom, Kelly was already trying to email the police. On the computer, that also wasn't going to work. I think we've had a little scene
like Moss from the IT crowd when there's a fire in the office.
Dear
Help,
police,
tiger. Dearest police, sorry to bother you at such a prime time. Brackets. I know there's a hurricane outside and it's all a bit stressful.
But inside there's a tiger. There is a tiger.
There's a bloody tiger in here. This isn't a joke.
Please send help. I reiterate again, a tiger. So they go downstairs and Kelly's plan is to drug the tiger.
Yeah, so she's got some level of
Viagra's because they're blue pills.
Little blue pills. What we're going to do, we're going to get the tiger an erection, right? And he'll be so disorientated by his erection that he won't be interested in us anymore.
If he takes all of those, if he takes all of those Viagra's, there'll be no blood left for his legs. You won't be able to chase us.
Yeah, it'll just be that sounds like a great plan. So they put it in like blobs of. So I think at this point, Tom is saying, "I want a bit of dinner, I want a bit of grub." And she's like, nah, something else is on the menu. Yes, a bit of this mince with a Viagra pill in it. And he's like, that's not for me. So
And
she
again,
like
like
chucks it around the house, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's chucking it around the house, but she does stop and basically make Tom his breakfast. I don't know what she gives him. Looks like she gives him a couple of penguin bars. But
couple of penguin bars.
Gives him a couple of penguins.
The question is, does she read the joke out before
she's unwrapped it? You'd hope so. You got a penguin joke you want to throw to us, Ben, while we're here?
Absolutely not. So I'm going to Google them real quickly. I'm not very good at. I am not good at jokes on the fly. I'd never make it as a stand-up comedian.
That was the best example I've ever seen of that. Of someone absolutely throwing someone under the bus. I think it was on the radio. It was an interview where the main host was like giving someone who was a less experienced like interviewing a celebrity, and she goes, ask if she wants to hear a joke, and it's like, do you want to hear a joke? And he's like, she's the celebrity that he's interviewing. He's like, oh yes, please. He goes, tell her a joke. Just like, you fucking, the guy is so angry. He's like, oh. you got a penguin joke up?
Happens. They're all terrible, to be fair. I mean, that's kind of it's kind of like, okay, what do penguins like to wear on the beach?
Flippers.
I mean, that probably would just as good. A bikini?
Oh, because they have beaks, because they're a bird, like a bird's beak, right?
I mean, they're all pretty awful, these are. See, that's terrible. I'm not even going to read that one out. No. I'm not. This is disgraceful. Absolutely not.
Are you reading the first result here? The 55 penguins puns that are brilliantly funny. Is that the one you're reading? Yep.
I mean, I love a pun as well, but these got no time for them. I do like a penguin joke. I think more confectionery / chocolate biscuits or anything with a wrapper on should have a joke. So it feels nice to have a treat, but it's doubly as nice to have a joke as well.
Same is true on a lolly stick. That's what you want.
Oh yeah, you definitely don't get that anymore, do you?
No, you don't. Definitely not. I've got one of these for you. Why are penguins good race car drivers?
Why are penguins good race car drivers? Because they're something about ice.
No, it's because they're always at pole position, Ben.
Mother of God. It was good. Good.
And one more. Fine. Who is a penguin's favorite pop star?
A penguin's Seal.
It is Seal, correct.
Why would it be a penguin's favorite? It'd be his least favorite.
Yes, seals eat penguins.
Seals eat penguins.
Yeah, not the singer Seal. He doesn't, as far as I know.
No, I don't think he does. Be quite a claim to make.
But anyway, we digress. Not that that's a common trend. But so she gives Tom a couple of penguin bars for his breakfast, so he can eat those. Because again, despite the tiger in the house, Tom doesn't have the capacity not to be able to expect to have food when
if it's dinner time, it's dinner time. You know.
Yeah.
Also, I think around about this point, we get a little bit of a scene with John at the bar, who's getting drunk, and it says gambling here. I can't remember. Was he gambling? Was he doing any gambling?
Yeah, I think he's doing some gambling. He's gambling on like some results or something. So I'll bet you that this is happening, or what have you.
Considering we saw somebody let the tiger in, and now we see him at a pub looking all sad or like he's dealing with something,
making a point of talking to people as well, like as if to set an alibi. Is that all right? At this time, 10:29.
Do you know what I like about 10:29 is it's not quite 10:30 when I'm here talking to you, and
when I'm here talking to you in this bar that we of course remember, and he's talking to this guy that's like. He's like, oh, thank God for you. Thank God for you, Johnny. You're a godsend to those kids. You love them so much. He's like, yeah, I do. I'm a good dad, aren't I?
I'm the best dad. So doesn't Kelly find the life insurance policies?
Yeah, basically, Johnny's plan comes unstuck due to bad filing. Johnny Gavin,
the worst filing, literally just leaving them Where does he leave them? Just
Well,
also
in this room that they lock themselves in, because they've found like a safe haven, like a dining room or something like that, or I think it's by the back porch, because she tries to get out the door and then opens it.
that's
There's
right.
a hurricane out there, can't go out.
Bloody hurricane. So I think, like, how long after taking out a huge life insurance policy on two people for like what is like 100 and something
125 grand each.
How long is there like a period of time that if they die,
then it'll be suspicious and they won't pay out on it?
Possibly killed by a tiger which you just bought?
I'm also not entirely convinced that you can take out life insurance on. You would take out life insurance on yourself, like you've a child to look after, Ben. Like, you might have life insurance out on yourself because you, the person that goes to work to look after that child, earns money, so they would need to be looked after if you weren't around. I'm not sure you could take out life insurance on a dependent, because what are you,
woman as well?
What are you, and also what are you insuring? Kelly, you could see if you'd lied and said you had a job and contributed to the house, you could maybe take out a life insurance policy on her. But Tom, what do you do? Oh, Tom, he to be honest, I'd be so sad if he died that it'd probably take 125 grand to make it better. Like, I'm not sure you can do that if they're not a financial factor in your house.
How sad would you be if Tom died? If you'd be 10 out of 10 sad, it's £125,000. If you'd be 8 out of 10, it's about 100,000. 10 out of 10, straight up.
11 actually.
11 actually. Sorry, that's not on the form. 11's not.
He's trying to negotiate again. He's taken out these insurance policies and he's been done. And this is where we have another kind of waking hallucination where...
Yeah, but this one wasn't so obvious, I don't think, was it?
No, she just kind of... Tom is sitting just quietly on the side while she's looking at this paperwork. And she looks at him and he suddenly pipes up in, very different to his usual, spoken cadence and goes... Kelly, it's come to my attention that there's a tiger here that might eat us. I put it to you that if I got by the tiger, I'd probably be dead before I knew it was being eaten.
Said something about his nervous system.
His parasympathetic nervous system would not have registered he was bleeding before he'd been absolutely chammed to bits.
Yeah, so I mean, that was a sort of, she did kind of imagine that, right?
Yeah.
Again, maybe like she's bargaining with herself, like, well, if the tiger does get him, which it seems ever increasingly likely to, because I'm just about surviving, but he's dependent on me so much, I don't think I'm going to be able to help him survive as well. I'm just convincing myself that if he does go, he'll be all right.
Yeah. It's the real perfect storm, right? Because if you had a little kid or a baby, you can obviously carry them and move them around, but the challenges Tom has means that he want to actively fight you if you try to physically move him around.
Yeah, it almost seems like he wants the tiger to kill him, which obviously he doesn't, but it kind of feels that way sometimes, which is kind of frustrating for...
My friend who I watched this with described it as like the hardest game of Lemmings you would ever play.
Yeah. Oh my God. So she finds a gun around about now as well. There only a few bullets. I think she got like 5 bullets or something. She's sneaking around with the gun. She's going to do a stealth kill on the tiger. She can approach it from behind, but yeah, she fucks it. She
fucks up the button prompts, and meanwhile Tom has just also wandered off and is just watching the TV again. He's watching the video. Is
he watching a video again?
I think so.
Jesus Christ, Tom. Change the record. Change the video, sorry. Stick something else on. Stick on, I don't know, what could distract the tiger? Just some some classic David Attenborough.
Put the like if you've got it on DVD, you could fast forward towards the end of the Jungle Book where the tiger gets got. Oh, hell, horror film.
Fire as well. That would give you the idea for fucking up with fire, which obviously Kelly does get soon.
Yeah, it could give them some inspiration as to how they could get rid of the tiger. Oh, tigers don't like fire. Well, posh English ones don't. At the very least.
Posh English one. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What's his name?
Shere Khan.
Shere Khan.
And then I imagine that having been scared by fire, he moves to the town from Tailspin and becomes a businessman.
Yeah.
So he must get over
That's pretty much what happens. Such a big, strong jewel that tiger's got. Was it Bruce Forsyth? Anyway, so at some point as well now, Kelly kind of gets out. She managed to like break the boards of a window and climb out, but I think she's been separated from Tom, hasn't she?
Yeah, so Tom has been separated from her, and having had this hallucination where she imagined him saying, actually, being eaten by a tiger isn't so bad. She's about to escape in the car, and then she kind of pauses and thinks, probably not great if I leave my little brother to be eaten by a tiger, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be quite the story, you know. My little brother's been killed. Has he? How did he go? Got killed by a tiger.
Got killed by a tiger. I mean, if I... Yeah.
So she goes...
What thing to have on your gravestone?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like he wants to go that way. He's like, it'd be a pretty cool way to die. So when she goes back in and finds him, she like does this whole thing where she promises to never ever abandon him. Obviously, there's some guilt based on the fact, and it's obviously some guilt, but also some metaphor there as well. The fact that she nearly left him on his own with a tiger, but also she nearly left him on his own before when she was going to go to college anyway. So now she's saying like she's never going to abandon him. She's always going to be there for him.
And she tries to rationalize with him like, oh, I'm sorry mom left you as well, because he's clearly suffering that, and he's got gone up and he's got his mom's like robe or the dress again that they're
so obviously the abandonment issues are going to be prevalent. The fact that he feels abandoned by his mum, and now it seems like Kelly's going to abandon him in a way that's probably making some of the sort of triggers for his autism a lot worse.
And the tiger's already done its best Michael Myers at this point as well. It's looked in through the cupboard and it's smashed it all. So the tiger's smashed several rooms of the house already.
It smashes through cupboards. It smashes through it pretty much makes a hole in a wall. Kelly makes a hole in the wall that they climb through. The tiger comes after them. And it's at this point as well where there's like an inch between the tiger's paw and Tom's head. And he's just like, go on in. Fucking dare you.
Do it.
Have a go. Have a go if you think you're hard enough.
In Kelly's previous escape as well, we've got the first reaction to the tiger from fire, because at one point when it's fighting her in the kitchen, when she fails to get it with the gun, she manages to spook him away because he's on top of the oven. She's quickly able to put the hob rings on.
Of course.
He's all bumming out my feet. And I
struggle with that. I always struggle with that. Like I'm always like... I went tick 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 tick. Come on.
So what Kelly does now is she goes with the classic 90s schoolboy flamethrower, gets the Lynx Africa out.
Never fails. Gets the Lynx Africa out and he goes, oh, bloody stinks.
But unfortunately, the just having a match or a candle's not going to cut it. So she gets a Lynx Africa and then she makes herself a torch, Indiana Jones style, with a broken broom handle and some cloth.
Yeah.
So they're ready to go. They get on the stairs and I don't understand how this bit works. There's a bit where the tiger's like pouncing down the stairs at them, and she sort of bops it with the
I thought maybe
and it changes course in the air. Tiger's going to weigh so much it's not going to move.
Maybe the tiger would have lit on fire at that point. I don't know what I was expecting. But
tigers are too flammable. She
boops it with the fire. He's like, fucking hell. But at this point, there's a bit of a standoff where clearly the tiger's afraid of the fire, and she's managing to keep.
She just shoots it in the head at this point as well, and it doesn't do anything.
She shoots it in the head.
He catches it, and he's basically just got like a bit of jam donut on his head, but otherwise he's fine.
It was like a ricochet straight off his. I don't know how thick a tiger's skull is, but it seemed to just ricochet off of its head. which would be annoying. That's a boss. That's a final boss. Oh
Yeah.
bloody hell, I got it right.
Oh no, and I've only got pistol rounds. So they're in
Devastated.
they're there. They've bashed the tiger. It has been eating the blobs of mince, so it's full of Viagra. Yeah. She's bashed it with the torch and shot it in the head.
Yes, in a state of severe confusion.
And then basically just has to, and again against his protests, make Tom get into the freezer. She goes, I know you understand me, like get in.
Yeah, so there's a freezer that obviously Johnny, we're going to full name him, Johnny Gavin every time.
Johnny Gavin.
He brought a massive freezer, obviously, to store all of the tiger's favorite food, which is
all of his accessories.
Iceland frozen spaghetti bolognese meals. He loves them.
Some Mr. Freezes in the summer.
Mr. Freeze in the summer for a treat, but obviously this freezer's not got anything in it and it's not plugged in. Is that right? It's not plugged in.
Yeah, it's been tipped over at very least, so it's not going to freeze them to death.
It's basically a coffin. So
they can hide in the coffin and be safe from the tiger.
Yep. So they hide inside. The tiger can't get in, which is handy. And basically the tiger, doesn't the tiger just fuck off?
Just chips off, right? It just goes, off. Oh, right. I guess I can't get in there. See ya.
And then Kelly sings a lullaby for Tom, and essentially they both fall asleep, right?
I wish I could get asleep that right. She just says, right, Tom, we're just going to get asleep.
And he goes, all right.
I tell you what, Ben, sometimes I can't sleep when I've got some admin to do. And be like, oh, God, I really need to sort out that paperwork, but insurance is going to expire quite soon. Got to look that up. Got to look up if I could be getting a better deal.
Yeah. Or you start to relive that really horrific, embarrassing moment from when you were 14 at that birthday party when that girl you liked, and you remember what you said. Shouldn't have said that.
Like that time I blew that.
Too specific.
Remember that time I really ruined that. Oh
yeah. So essentially, the next morning, Kelly wakes up. There's a sound of drilling. Johnny Gavin has come back from an all-nighter at the pub.
Pulled an all-nighter down the pub.
Pulled an all-nighter.
He's got his McDonald's breakfast on him.
He's got his McDonald's breakfast on him, sobering up. He comes in with like a rifle, obviously ready to
get the tiger.
What he thinks has happened is the tiger has been in there, killed both of them, and it's just gonna be all fat, full of meat, just like.
I'm so full of kids.
I'm so full of kids.
And then she comes in, confronts him, and he's a bit surprised. Johnny Gavin that they're alive, and just we're not dead actually. No thanks to you. And I know that in fact that you were doing this for the insurance money. And he goes, I guess no point denying it. Sorry, he's had an all-nighter, that's why he's yawning. He says, no point denying it. I was going to get you for the insurance money, but then again, who's ever going to believe you? While I'm here, might as well admit that I killed your mum as well. Yeah, she was fine. I overdosed her.
That's unnecessary, isn't it? Like, I mean, I know it's unnecessary to do that, but unnecessary to reveal that you did that as well. Also, while I'm at it, I killed your mum. Yeah, and also while I'm at it, I've never really liked Lord of the Rings films. Also, and they go, what? Absolutely disgraceful. But yeah, obviously he's a bad bastard.
He's just bringing out all these things that he doesn't like. So I think the living wage is too high. In fact, I
voted Tory every single general election, and I always tell people I vote Green.
Well, that's me. So
my secret.
Yeah, so I will never face any comeuppance to this at all. I guess of all the negative things that happen, Kelly might be, I don't think she's this shallow, but she might have been upset to realise that upon Johnny being back in the house, apparently she's no longer the most beautiful person because
of course,
because the tiger sees him and goes, I'll accept this bad dad sacrifice, I guess. and just gets him.
So Garret Dillahunt is murdered by a tiger for the
first time in his career.
For the first time in his career. 10 years later, he will be murdered by a tiger again, a zombie tiger, an undead tiger in Army of the Dead. So, does he take it pretty well? I don't know. This didn't seem like too much of a brutal attack because there isn't much gore. There isn't all that much blood. There's like a streak of blood on the floor, but all of the gore essentially happens off screen. We only see Johnny kind of looking down as he's, I guess, torn apart by the tiger. Yes. He looks down like he's just woken up after a long nap.
Yeah. He looks down like, oh,
that hurts. That's it. Oh, you dirty boy.
He ends up. So he's been got, and then Kelly and Tom step out the house. Kelly kind of has a look back at the tiger. I don't know
look
what
back at the tiger.
The tiger sort of goes.
They look back at the tiger. They give the tiger 2 thumbs up, and they say, "It was stressful, but I'm glad we got through it and made friends with this tiger.
We've learned to live with each other, and now we part as not friends, but like we're rivals with a respect for one another."
Yeah, we've been through it. So they sneak out the house, walking outside. Everything's smushed because of the hurricane, and they just walk away, presuming this is the start. This is the end of this film, but the start of a new film where the tiger goes on a rampage, picking apart a community that's been ravaged by a hurricane, who think things can't possibly get any worse.
And the tiger walks in.
Tiger turns up.
Well, I don't know. It depends if the police have got that email, I guess.
They should have.
The police have got the email. They should.
I reckon they've got a lot of emails to work through after the morning after a hurricane.
The wind's really fast. What's going on?
They've only.
When you were scrolling your inbox, though, you'd look at the one that was titled "Tiger in House."
Unless she accidentally titled it. She did. I don't want to panic anybody, so I'll put the title of it.
Ring me first.
Ring me first. Slight issue. Unexpected
intruder. House guest.
Unexpected house guest. Wink, wink. Tiger emoji. There we go. And that's the end.
Yeah, if they've got that email, they would go. Tom appears to have made some progress, and he reaches and holds her hand, meaning perhaps that we're shown that he's quite affectionate with her mom. Perhaps he has come to accept that he can not be quite so fearful of his sister, and that she does really want to take care of him. You'd be very tempted at this point to be petty and go, Tom, no touch, thanks. She's
Tom, no touch, and then turns
enough.
And then turns to the camera.
Yeah, give us a pang when we, Tom. But no, she doesn't. She's not a dickhead, and she's nice about it.
Catches him. There we go.
Yeah, and we assume they go off to be fine. They'll get their money back, I guess.
Yeah, there we go. So, end of that film. Have you got any name game in Luke's absence?
I've got some for you, Ben. Bear with me just a second while I bring up my name games for you.
I've got only one. So while you're bringing them up, I'll give you one.
Go on, then.
I'll give you one. So, a girl and her autistic brother get stuck in a house with Derek Zoolander, but can easily evade him as he can't follow, for he can only turn one direction and not another.
It's turning right.
It's turning right. Now, I believe in the film he can't turn left.
So he can only turn...
I guess so.
You can only turn right.
That was my pathetic attempt.
Oh, no, I had that as one of mine as well, Ben. I was going to say that... what's his name again? Johnny Gavin. Johnny Gavin attempts to get rid of his stepson and daughter by damaging their car, meaning that they can't turn left as they navigate the way up a treacherous mountain range, and that was going to be called turning right. So for next one then, enraged actor John Barrowman burns a copy of M. Night Shyamalan's Old, immolates it in a fire. What is that film called?
He burns a cup. Burning. It's burning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's burning. But what did John Barrowman famously describe Old as?
What did he describe it as? Shite.
Yeah, burning shite.
Burning shite.
I haven't seen Old. I've heard it's fine. The next one, Johnny Gavin conspires to transport his stepson and daughter back in time, where they will no doubt perish in the Dark Ages. However, the pair are saved by a member of nobility in a suit of armor, who primarily works converting milk into butter.
I mean, it's great, but it's a churning night.
It's a churning night, correct. The next one, Johnny Gavin attempts to rid himself of his stepson and daughter by sending them on an expedition up Mount Everest, hoping to find the exact altitude where their faces will contort into comically hideous faces.
Gurning height.
Gurning height, correct.
Wow.
And finally, in the modern era where people are so desensitized by violent movies, television, and video games, long-term slasher killer Freddy Krueger has to work really, really hard to get a fear reaction out of Johnny Gavin stepson and daughter, who he's employed to scare them.
Earning fright.
Earning fright. Freddy Krueger has to work real hard.
Oh man, no, honestly, I was kind of there. I was kind of not there.
Earning fright. Very good. You got them all.
These are great. These are great. Is that the end?
That's the end. Yeah, I had Turning
Wow.
Right as my last one.
Superb.
Great work.
Superb. Great work. Great work, me and you, for the first one, of course. So I guess all we got to do now is rate the movie. So Andy, where do you stand on Burning Bright?
You know what? Like I come back to this movie a couple of times because I think conceptually it's a fun idea from a concept. Like you write this down on a piece of paper, you know exactly what you're going to get. It's people stuck in a claustrophobic environment with a tiger in the house and a hurricane outside. Does that concept deliver on what it could have done? Maybe not quite. But especially talking about it today, I am interested in what they tried to do with a character piece here. I think, however sensitively done or heavy-handed the work that they did on Tom's character may or may not be, we can't really comment on that. But I do think there are some interesting things to unpack with Kelly's character and how she responds to being in a really difficult situation and being a carer for someone who it can be very difficult to be around. So I think there are some good things to take from that movie in that sense. And as I say, conceptually it's fine. Effects wise, it's very difficult because, let's face it, with modern sensibilities in the post-Tiger King world, we're all far more acutely aware that using actual animals in your films is not cool, right? Like, why would you want to have a tiger in your film unless it's a nature film showing a tiger living in the wild? So it's really hard to deliver this film in the sense, but I do like some of the concepts behind it. Yeah, so interesting idea, not the best executed. I would recommend it's a decent background curiosity watch, so you've seen it, especially if you're going through an animal creature feature, animals attack phase. But I would give this film just a little more than a flat D. I'll give it that. I'll give it a D plus, which would be, that's the Choco Crispies hope of the plus.
The Choco Crispies hope. I think I agree with like a lot of the points you made. Definitely interesting as a character piece. I guess as a possibly a bit heavy-handed in places, maybe didn't give us quite enough in others. It's it's pretty dumb as a film. It's dumb, and I like dumb films when they're fun, and this is only fun occasionally. It doesn't
You're
quite.
right. This is dumb. This is a dumb film that tries to have a serious message, so it's tough.
Yeah.
In many
It's that
ways,
combination.
if Tom was just, if Tom didn't have an actual condition, if he was just a bratty kid that was making things difficult, so you could actively say, "Oh, you're being a dickhead," like that would make it for maybe a more fun film, like maybe a brother and sister that didn't get on and had a more comical sense. Fine, but because it's has a more serious subject matter in the character relationship, it's hard to have as much fun with it, right?
Yeah, I think it struggles. I think it ran out, even as a short film, it feels like it runs out of ideas pretty quickly. It's kind of just, oh, there's a tiger in here. Well, don't get too close. Whoa, watch out. How can we keep it at bay this many times? And I think it suffered from the lack of gore. We needed to see this tiger properly maul more than one person for us to really feel like, oh shit,
It's an evil tiger.
That tiger's evil. The fact that we kind of see it just bite a finger, and then we're supposed to think like it can't even effectively pick off these two. Come on. I reckon if you lock me in a house with these two, and I would fuck them up.
I mean, bash them with a hammer. What would you feel, Ben, if I was to tell you, what if I could have in this film, what if Burning Bright became Home Alone 3? And in the house, you've got Harry, Marv, Kevin McAllister, and that tiger. Would you be more up for that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, to watch any film with Harry, Marv, and Kevin McAllister, played by the original actors, of course, I'd have
a tiger.
In any format. Add a tiger to the mix. Sure. Let's go. Let's do it. But yeah, I feel like it struggled for that. I found it a bit one note. I feel like sometimes when you're watching a movie and you're a bit like, well, where's it? How are they gonna get out of this scenario? Oh, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I did have a point to make, but it's already gone. It's already gone down a fucking laundry chute.
It's late. Or up the laundry chute.
It's down a bloody laundry chute. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't feel. I think with something like Crawl, you genuinely feel like the effects. You generally feel scared, but also you're like, Jesus Christ, this is insane. How much more insane can it get? With this film, sure, as a concept, it's out there, but that's kind of where it starts and stops. Tiger in a house during a hurricane, that's it. It doesn't go anywhere crazy. Like Crawl goes in lots of different interesting directions where you're like, in these films about survival, especially with animal attacks, you're like, how much worse can it get? How are they going to get out of this scenario? But it feels like there aren't that many scenarios that it puts these characters in. So for that reason, I didn't get on with it massively well. I'm probably just going to go for a flat D, I think, because D flat, yeah. And I think it was very obvious that tiger wasn't really there, wasn't it, most of the time?
Yeah, very true. I think the effects, it didn't have quite the budget to make that as seamless as it could have been. One more question for you then, Ben. In order of situations you would least like to be in, the Crawl situation, the Burning Bright situation, or the Link situation?
I would least like to be it.
Which one do you think you have the best to worst odds of surviving?
I think Crawl was probably the worst odds to survive in, because there's a lot of scenarios where you're in water alongside killer alligators.
Yeah.
So you're in their habitat trying to survive. When you're in their habitat and you're trying to survive, you're screwed. Tiger in a house. Tigers aren't in houses very often.
Yeah.
I reckon you could disorientate a tiger. I reckon if you went into another room and piled enough things against the door, that tiger ain't getting in.
Yeah.
Tigers are strong, but so I reckon Crawl, then Burning Bright, and then Link. I feel most confident about running away from Link, because I don't reckon he seemed as fast as perhaps we were supposed to think. Elizabeth Shue outran him quite. So I reckon that's the order for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
Alligators, I feel like I wouldn't have tried to save anyone because didn't have anyone to take care of you. Just got up on the roof with the dog straight away. I could have stayed out of there. I don't remember the specifics of
oh yeah,
of
dog. I forgot about the dog.
I'd have rescued that dog and I'd have been gone.
Yeah. See you later.
Yeah. So I'm going to put that one down. I think you're right with the tiger barricading in the house. Link, I think that might have started before it had stopped, because I wouldn't have known to turn the gas off. He'd have blown that house up himself when I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
New Pokemon's out. I'd have been playing that on the Switch, and the house would have exploded. The professor would have got back and gone, "What's happened to Link? Oh, he blew up the oven, didn't he? Soz." It's like, oh, I was going to have him euthanized anyway. So there you go. So maybe, yeah, I think I'm with you on Link, and then I might. No, actually, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to agree with you. Those alligators were all up in everyone's business, and they're eventually, as the water rises, would probably even get you on the roof. So yeah, I'm with you. Alligators worst, tiger second. As long as it didn't sneak up on you, and you could just barricade a door with enough stuff, then.
Yeah,
then that's
enough
fine.
Enough prep like Batman, you'll be all right.
Yeah, enough prep like Batman. Oh, just go up in the loft or something. Tiger can't get up there.
So it's good. Okay, there we go. That's that. Thanks very much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons, who are John Crinnan, patron against his will, Ben Scaife. He was on a bloody episode last week. Ben Scaife, remember him? Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Scott Rigby, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Wendy Miller, and Pazuzu. Thank you all for your support. It means a bloody lot. So yeah, thanks to Kovac Cowman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review, and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors to chat to us there. Next week, we're going to be doing the Amityville Horror, the original, and a bit of the remake as well. That should be fun. So yeah, join us next week for that.
Yeah. Watch out for tigers in your house, guys.
Watch out for the tigers in your house. Maybe look into each new room you go into before, just to check there are any jungle cats in there. But yeah, and thanks to my co-host Andy for being a reet horror dude.
Thanks to you too, Ben. And thanks to you, Luke, being a right horror dude wherever you are. Not cancelled or poorly, don't worry.
Not cancelled or poorly, possibly asleep though.
Yeah, good night, Luke. Sleep tight.
Sweet dreams. No, they're not about tigers.
Or what if they are? He did watch this film in preparation.
Oh yeah.
And without unpicking it, he probably doesn't realise that they were never in the same room. He's probably still worried. If you've listened this far, Luke, it's all right. It was just a film.
It's just a film, mate. Don't worry. Okay. See you next week.
See you later. Bye.